Sunken Sea City. Imagine drifting into sleep while uncovering 3 hours of vanished worlds. Cities swallowed by jungles, empires erased by time, secrets hidden beneath ocean waves. Tonight, you'll journey through 30 whispers of lost civilizations. Each mystery feels close, like discovering a forgotten memory in your dreams. Before we begin, share in the comments. Have you ever felt drawn to a place you've never seen? Tell us where you'd journey first. Imagine diving beneath calm blue waves and discovering the faint outline of a city. Streets lie silent under. Sand temple steps are covered in seaweed, and fish drift through broken doorways where fishermen once prayed. It's hard to believe that a place so full of life, boats bobbing at docks, voices calling across market stalls, now rests quietly on the ocean floor. How did this thriving town become a sunken secret? And what can its silent ruins teach us about change, loss, and the power of nature? Thousands of years ago, people built homes and temples along coasts that are now underwater. They fished those same waters for dinner. They gathered at sunlit plazas to celebrate festivals. They carved stories of gods and heroes into stone walls. In many ways, their daily lives were not so different from ours. They worried about weather spoiling their crops, planned celebrations with friends and family, and hoped for safety when storms rolled in. Yet over time, the sea crept closer. Maybe a great flood overwhelmed their walls. Maybe the land slowly sank. Whatever the cause, the result was the same. The city slipped beneath the waves, and its story was hidden. Until today. Have you ever arrived somewhere and found it changed beyond recognition? Perhaps you returned to a childhood home only to see new buildings in place of old playgrounds. Or you revisited a favorite beach and discovered the shoreline had shifted after a storm. That sense of surprise, of seeing familiar places transformed, connects us to the people of the Sunken Sea City. They too must have watched their world change, perhaps faster than they could imagine. One moment, the temple steps were dry stone. Next, they were slick with algae and salt. The everyday routines they knew so well were washed away, leaving only memories and, eventually, ruins beneath the waves. Diving into those ruins today is like reading a time capsule. Every broken column, every shell-encrusted statue speaks of lives once lived. Archaeologists use careful tools to uncover pottery shards and coins, piecing together the economy, art, and faith of the vanished town. But even beyond the artifacts, the very layout of the streets tells a story. Straight roads suggest planning and community cooperation. Public squares hint at gatherings, markets, ceremonies, celebrations. And then there are the temples, often built on raised platforms. In life, these places connected people to their gods. In death, they connect us to the hopes and fears of those long-gone residents. It's here, in the silent corridors of a sunken temple, that we feel the paradox of permanence and change. Stone seems eternal. We think it will stand unchanged for centuries. But the sea reminds us that nothing truly lasts. Water seeps into cracks. Pressure shifts walls. Marine life takes root in the smallest crevices. Over time, even the grandest monuments yield to nature's quiet power. In our own lives, we build routines and structures, jobs, relationships, habits that feel solid. Yet change can come unpredictably. A health scare, a career shift, a move to a new city. We learn, as the Sunken City teaches, that permanence is an illusion. What feels solid today may be transformed tomorrow. And still, there is beauty in that transformation. The ruins below the waves have become a new kind of home. For coral, for fish, for octopus weaving through broken archways. What was once a human city is now a vibrant reef. Life continues in new forms, on foundations laid by another age. In our own world, we too can find renewal in change. A career setback can lead to a new passion. A lost friendship can open space for fresh connections. Just as the sea reclaims and renews the ancient city, so can our lives evolve, growing vibrant in unexpected ways. Perhaps this is why sunken cities hold such fascination. They remind us that endings can become beginnings. The same water that swallowed the town now nurtures new ecosystems. The same silence that covers the streets invites us to listen. 2. Imagine the laughter, the prayers, the daily tasks that once filled the air. In that listening, we connect across time. We feel empathy for people separated from us by thousands of years. We recall our own experiences of loss and transformation. We find comfort in the idea that life, in one form or another, goes on. There is also a deeper theme here about memory and story. Sunken sea cities are forgotten in plain sight. Their outlines may lie just beneath the surface, visible only to those who pause to look. In our busy lives, we often skim the surface, rushing from one task to the next, barely noticing the world around us. Yet if we slow down, we begin to see traces of history everywhere. Old buildings repurposed for new uses, generations of family recipes passed down in kitchens, faded photographs in albums. These are our personal sunken cities, layers of memory beneath our everyday routines. They remind us that our lives are built on stories, stories of who came before, stories we carry within us, stories we may one day pass on. Even technology reflects this paradox. We store data in the cloud, thinking it's secure and permanent. Yet bits can be lost. Formats become obsolete. Servers shut down. Digital memories can vanish as easily as stone ruins. Meanwhile, archaeologists dive with careful hands to pull pottery shards from mud. They preserve tangible pieces of the past. In both cases, we struggle with how to remember and how to accept that some things will inevitably fade. Perhaps the lesson of the Sunken Sea City is that memory, whether in our minds or in digital form, requires active care. We must revisit, preserve, and share, or else those stories slip away, hidden beneath the waves of time. As you drift toward sleep tonight, think of the Sunken Sea City as more than an archaeological wonder. Think of it as a mirror for your own life. Consider the foundations you've built. What routines feel solid? What memories lie just beneath the surface, waiting to be rediscovered? And when change comes, as it surely will, how might you allow your life to transform into something new and beautiful, like a reef blossoming on ancient stone? If this glimpse beneath the waves stirred your curiosity, share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever visited a coastal ruin or watched a shoreline shift? Where would you dive if you could explore a lost city? And if you enjoyed this gentle voyage into the past, please like and subscribe for more relaxing journeys through history's hidden wonders. Now close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the quiet rhythm of the ocean guide you into a peaceful sleep. Jungle, Stonehenge, Circles. Imagine stepping into a clearing in the heart of a dense jungle. The air is thick with humidity. Sunlight filters through the canopy in shifting patterns. Beneath your feet, the ground is soft with fallen leaves. Suddenly, you round a bend and come upon a ring of giant stones. They rise from the earth like ancient sentinels, each one covered in bright green moss. It feels as if you've stumbled into a secret older than memory itself. What if these moss-clad monoliths aren't just random boulders, but a hidden calendar, one that measures the passage of stars, seasons, and time itself? These jungle stone circles may seem out of place, yet they share a curious kinship with the famous Stonehenge in England. In both cases, people long ago moved massive stones with great effort, arranging them in precise patterns. They understood the sky, how the sun rises on the solstice, how certain stars appear at special times of year. In a clearing far from any modern road, the jungle stones stand as a silent observatory. Here, the builders could track rainy seasons, predict planting times, or mark festivals. They harnessed the rhythms of nature, just as farmers today watch weather forecasts to know when to sow seeds, or students watch the calendar to know when exams arrive. Have you ever noticed how the sun feels different in summer versus winter? How do the shadows on your wall shift from morning to evening? We live by these patterns every day, often without thinking. Our lives follow cycles, work weeks and weekends, school terms and holidays, even the simple rhythm of sleep and waking. The Jungle Circles builders understood this deeply. They sought to anchor their lives in the sky's steady dance. In a place where rain can fall without warning, knowing when to plant or harvest meant the difference between plenty and hunger. These stones were their tool, a guide as reliable as the sunrise. Yet there's another layer to this mystery. In the quiet of the clearing, the stones seem almost alive. Vines creep along their surfaces. Moss cushions their bases. Tiny insects explore every crack. Life has reclaimed these markers, weaving them into the web of the jungle. The very stones that once marked time are now part of an ever-changing ecosystem. This is the paradox. We build to last, to measure, to control. Yet nature gently reclaims everything, reminding us that permanence is an illusion. The same stones that guided ancient farmers now guide orchids and ferns. The circle remains, but its purpose shifts, from calendar to habitat, from tool to wonder. This dance between human design and natural growth echoes in our own lives. We set goals, make plans, build routines. We track deadlines, birthdays, anniversaries, our personal calendars of hope and memory. Yet life often grows around those plans in unexpected ways. A friendship blooms where we least expect it. A new passion takes root in a spare hour. Just as moss transforms cold stone into living green, our experiences transform our plans into something richer, more complex, more alive. There's also a deeper theme here about connection between earth and sky, past and present, human intention, and natural flow. The jungle circles remind us that we are part of a larger story. We look up at stars and feel a sense of wonder. We look around at trees and feel rooted in place. In the same way, the stones connect us. They anchor sky patterns to the earth below. They show us how ancient people bridged the gap between daily life and cosmic rhythms. And we, in turn, can bridge our inner worlds, our hopes, our routines, our dreams, with the greater cycles that surround us. The passing seasons, the rising stars, the steady beat of time. In our modern world, we often rely on digital clocks and apps to track time. Yet sometimes we long for something more tactile, more connected to nature. We plant gardens by the moon. We celebrate solstices with festivals. We pause to watch a sunrise or marvel at a full moon. These acts echo the work of the jungle circles builders. They remind us that time is not just numbers on a screen. It is sunlight on leaves, rainfall on soil, shadows shifting on ancient stones. It is a living rhythm we can feel in our bodies if we slow down and pay attention. As you think about these moss-clad monoliths, consider the hidden calendars in your own life. What patterns guide you? Maybe it's the rhythm of your breath when you wake, the cycle of the seasons in your neighborhood, or the way your heart feels when you reunite with loved ones. These are your personal stones, markers that help you navigate time's flow. And just like the jungle circles, they are both human-made and touched by nature, shaped by intention and by growth. If this glimpse into a hidden observatory stirred your curiosity, share your thoughts below. Have you ever visited a place that felt designed by both people and nature? Where did you feel time's rhythm most clearly? Tap like if you enjoyed this quiet journey, and subscribe for more gentle explorations of our world's hidden wonders. Now take a deep breath, feel the steady pulse of time within you, and carry this calm awareness into your day, or into your dreams tonight. Desert, Forgotten Oasis. Imagine walking across endless dunes of golden sand, the sun beating down, and the wind whispering secrets of distant dunes. Your throat is dry, and each step feels heavier than the last. Then, unexpectedly, you spot a ring of palm trees on the horizon, a splash of green in a sea of gold. As you draw closer, you discover an old well, half buried in sand. Its stone walls are cracked, and the water below is dark and still. It feels like a doorway to another world, a world where rivers once flowed, where life thrived in the desert's heart. How could such a place vanish, leaving only hints of its former abundance? Long ago, this oasis was a lifeline. Travelers and caravans stopped here, their camels kneeling to drink. Farmers grew dates and vegetables in shaded groves. Birds nested in the palms, and children played by the water's edge. At that time, the climate was kinder. Rivers wound their way through the sands, feeding springs beneath the surface. People built homes and markets around the well's cool shade. They planned their days by the rising and setting sun, trusting that the oasis would always be there. Have you ever returned to a favorite spot, a park bench, a classroom, a cafe, and found it changed beyond recognition? Maybe the trees were cut down or the building repainted. You look for the familiar bench or that friendly barista, only to discover something new has taken its place. That same sense of surprise must have met those who came back to this desert. Well after it began to fade. One year the water was clear, next it was muddy, then it was gone, leaving only a dusty pit. The green palms wilted and died, their roots starved of water. The laughter and life that once bubbled here fell silent, buried beneath shifting sands. In our own lives we experience similar shifts. We rely on routines, a morning cup of tea, a daily walk, a weekly call with a friend. These small rituals become our oasis, comforting and familiar. But sometimes, circumstances change. A move to a new city, a change in schedule, a lost friendship. The routines dry up like a disappearing spring. We feel parched for that sense of stability. Yet, just as the desert reclaims its sands, our lives adapt. New routines emerge. New sources of comfort appear. The emptiness left by loss can become space for fresh growth. The hidden well also speaks to the power of memory. Beneath the sand lies the story of that vanished oasis. Layers of sediment, pollen grains, and ancient footprints. Archaeologists drill core samples to read those layers like pages in a book. They learn when the river flowed, when the climate shifted, and when people said goodbye to the palm groves. In the same way, our memories lie beneath the surface of our minds. We may not think about a childhood home every day, but the memory remains, waiting to be uncovered by a scent or a song. Those hidden memories shape who we are, even when we're unaware of them. There's a deeper paradox here. The desert seems lifeless, yet beneath its surface, water may still flow. An oasis can reappear after years of drought, fed by hidden aquifers. Nature reminds us that life persists in silence beneath the surface. In our own hearts, hope can lie dormant during difficult times, only to spring back unexpectedly. We may feel dry and empty, but beneath our worries and fears, the source of resilience still flows. We rediscover it when we reach out to friends, return to old passions, or simply pause and breathe. This hidden life under the sand also connects to the way we build technology. Think of data stored on servers, forgotten files, old photos, unused accounts. Even when we delete something, traces remain, waiting to be retrieved. Just as the desert hides its water, digital systems hide their information. And as AI learns to read those hidden patterns, we gain new insights into the past, both human and natural. The same tools that reveal a buried oasis can help us uncover lost stories, forgotten languages, and hidden connections in our own lives. As you reflect on the desert's forgotten oasis, consider the hidden springs in your own world. What routines or memories lie just beneath the surface, waiting to be rediscovered? Where do you find shade when life's sun feels too strong? Share your own oasis, real or metaphorical, in the comments below. Tap like if this quiet journey brought you a moment of calm, and subscribe to explore more hidden wonders with us. Now close your eyes, breathe deeply, and imagine cool water rising to meet you, even in the driest of places. Mountain sky temples. Imagine climbing a steep, rocky path as mist curls around your ankles. The air grows thinner, colder, and with each step you feel farther from the world below. Then, suddenly, the path widens into a narrow ledge carved into the cliff face. Before you stand ancient shrines hewn directly from the rock, their doorways opening onto nothing but sky and drifting clouds. It feels as if you have climbed into another realm, a place where earth meets heaven, and the wind carries whispers of forgotten prayers. These cliff-carved temples were built by people who sought to be closer to the divine. They carried stone-cutting tools up jagged slopes, chiseled sanctuaries into sheer rock, and painted fading murals within. In their minds, altitude brought them nearer to the gods who lived in the sky. They watched storms gather on the horizon, feeling the power of thunder as a message from above. They saw sunlight break through clouds and took it as a sign of blessing. Their lives were shaped by weather they could not control, and yet they built these temples to bridge the gap between human effort and heavenly forces. Have you ever waited for a storm to pass, watching dark clouds roll in, then felt the sudden calm when the wind shifts and sunlight breaks through? That moment, when the world seems suspended between turbulence and peace, is much like standing at the doorway of a sky temple. On one side is the ordinary world, with its worries and routines. On the other is the vast sky, full of mystery and possibility. The temple ledge becomes a place of pause, where you can breathe deeply and feel both grounded in rock and uplifted by the air around you. In everyday life, we seek our own ledges, moments when we step away from noise and rush to find clarity. Maybe it's waking up early to watch the sunrise before work. Maybe it's a quiet corner in a cafe where you sip tea and think. Or a short walk in the park when deadlines feel heavy. These small escapes help us reconnect with something larger than our immediate tasks. The cliff temples magnify that idea. They show us how stepping away, physically, mentally, or spiritually, can open our minds to new perspectives. There is a paradox in these sky-high sanctuaries. They are both remote and welcoming. Remote because reaching them demands effort, balance, and courage. Welcome because once there, you enter a space of calm and contemplation. In our own minds, we often feel the same push and pull. We crave rest but resist slowing down. We yearn for peace but cling to busyness. The cliff temples remind us that peace often lies just beyond the edge of effort. We must climb. We must step out onto the ledge, and then we can rest in the quiet, space between earth and sky. This interplay between effort and rest connects to deeper themes of belief and understanding. The temple builders might not have had modern science, but they observed nature closely. They saw how weather patterns repeated, how seasons cycled, and how light changed the mood of the world. They used those observations to shape their rituals and architecture. In a sense, they practiced an early form of data gathering, watching, recording, and responding to patterns. Today, we use technology and AI to detect patterns in data. But the human impulse is the same. We seek to understand forces greater than ourselves and to find a place where we can feel aligned with them. In our relationships, we also seek alignment, moments when we feel truly heard, when someone's words lift us above our worries. Those moments can feel as rare and precious as a mountain temple above the clouds. They require effort, the effort to listen, to empathize, to climb out of our own concerns and meet another person halfway. And when we do, we find a shared ledge of understanding, a calm place where connection happens. As you think about these sky temples, consider the ledges in your own life. Where do you go to feel both grounded and uplifted? It might be a physical spot, a hilltop, a beach at dawn, or an activity, a favorite book, a piece of music, a meditation practice. These are your personal cliff temples, carved not from rock, but from intention. They are places you return to when you need perspective, when you need to feel the world expand beyond your immediate concerns. If this journey to the cliff-carved shrine spoke to you, share your own ledge in the comments. Where do you find that space between effort and peace? Tap like if you feel inspired to seek your own sky temple, and subscribe for more gentle explorations of hidden wonders. Now take a deep breath, imagine the cool mountain air, and carry that calm into the rest of your day. Underground rock maze. Imagine descending a narrow stairway carved into cool stone. Each step echoes softly, and the air grows still. You reach a low tunnel where torchlight flickers against rough walls. As you move deeper, the passage splits, again and again, creating a web of corridors that stretch into shadow. Every turn feels identical, until suddenly you find a small chamber, its ceiling dotted with faint carvings. It's as if someone long ago whispered secrets into the rock, and the stone still remembers. These underground mazes were not built for casual strolls. They were sacred spaces, places where priests performed rituals and initiates faced trials of courage and faith. Imagine entering such a maze at dusk, with only a single lamp to guide you. The tunnel walls press close, and your heartbeat quickens. You feel the weight of history in every step. In those ancient rites, emerging from the maze alive and unlost, was a symbol of spiritual rebirth, a proof that the seeker could find light even in the darkest paths. Have you ever felt lost in your own thoughts, turning one worry into another until you aren't sure which way leads out? Exams can feel like that, each question branching into more doubts. Relationships, too. One misunderstanding can lead to confusion, and we wander through our feelings, searching for clarity. The rock maze is a powerful mirror of these experiences. In both cases, the way forward is not obvious, yet each step, taken with calm intention, brings us closer to understanding. In daily life, we create our own mazes. Busy schedules, endless to-do lists, tangled emotions. We navigate them with routines and habits, hoping to find a clear path. But sometimes those routines lead us in circles. We wake, work, worry, sleep, and repeat. The underground maze reminds us that purposeful pauses matter. In the heart of the labyrinth, priests would stop, listen, and meditate. They let the quiet guide them. In our lives, a moment of stillness can break the cycle. A deep breath, a silent minute, a simple walk. These are our torches in the dark. There's a deeper theme here about faith and trust. The maze builders trusted that those who entered would find their way. They designed each corridor with care, knowing that the journey itself was the lesson. In faith traditions today, we talk about walking the path or staying on the journey, even when the destination is unknown. In technology, AI algorithms navigate data mazes, learning patterns hidden in complexity. Yet human intuition remains vital, our ability to pause, reflect, and choose. The rock labyrinth shows that guidance often comes from within, even when the walls seem to close in. As you navigate your own inner labyrinth, remember the ancient seekers who emerged into light after darkness. Each turn taught them patience. Each dead end invited them to try another way. And when they found the center, they found a space of calm, a quiet chamber where echoes faded and insight dawned. You, too, can find that center in your mind. When worries swirl, imagine a hidden room of stillness inside you, a place where echoes soften and the next step becomes clear. If this journey through the rock maze resonated with you, share your own experience in the comments. Have you ever felt lost and then found an unexpected path forward? Tap like if you seek moments of calm in your day, and subscribe for more gentle explorations of hidden wonders. Now take a deep breath, feel the solid earth beneath you, and trust that even the darkest corridors can lead to light. Frozen Nomad Camps. Imagine stumbling upon a cluster of tents, each half buried in ice, the canvas stiff and silent. Inside, you find hearths long cold, tools coated in frost, and simple carvings on wooden beams. It's as if the people who lived here vanished in an instant, leaving their homes locked in ice. These were the camps of ancient nomads, hunters who followed mammoths across frozen plains. Their lives were shaped by wind, snow, and the migration of giant beasts. Yet now, their villages lie preserved in cold stillness, offering a window into a world both harsh and astonishingly alive. These nomads rose with the pale light of Arctic dawn, bundled in furs, breath misting in the air. They tracked massive herds, reading footprints in snow like words in a book. Every hunt was a test of patience and skill, every meal a gift from the land. They built camps quickly, simple frames covered with skins, then moved on when the herds led them elsewhere. In that rhythm of chase and rest, they found balance. Their camps were never meant to last, yet the ice has kept them safe for thousands of years. freezing moments of daily life into time capsules of wood, bone, and stone. Have you ever had a moment frozen in memory? A perfect sunrise, a first kiss, a quiet conversation that you wish you could revisit? In our minds, we carry snapshots of time that feel preserved against change. The Nomad Camps are like those memories made real. The tilted poles of a tent, the worn seat by the fire, the scattered tools. They speak of routines and small rituals. The morning fire, the sharpening of a blade, the sharing of a meal. Yet those moments, once alive with movement and warmth, now rest in ice. The paradox is clear. Life is fleeting, but memory, and sometimes ice, can hold it still. In everyday life, we chase routines much like the nomads chase mammoths. We wake, we work, we return home, we rest, and then we do it again. Our herds may be deadlines and errands instead of giant beasts, but the pattern is familiar. We build temporary camps in our homes, our desks, our kitchens, our favorite chairs, places where we feel safe before venturing out again. And like the nomads, we leave parts of ourselves behind in each spot: a coffee mug on a desk, a book on a nightstand, a well-worn cushion by the window. These traces become our own frozen camps, evidence of routines and rhythms that define our days. There is a deeper theme here about adaptation and preservation. The nomads thrived by moving with the herds, by adapting to shifting conditions, always ready to leave one camp for the next. Yet we often resist change. We cling to comfort zones, fearing the unknown. The ice-entombed camps remind us that sometimes preserving the past means letting it rest while we move forward. The ice did not destroy the nomads' villages, it protected them. In our lives, letting go can preserve our memories and lessons, even as we adapt to new seasons. This idea connects to how we manage information and technology. We archive emails, back up photos, store files in the cloud, efforts to freeze moments of data against loss. Yet too much storage can weigh us down, cluttering our digital camps with unused files. The nomads left no extra baggage. They carried only what they needed. Perhaps we can learn from them. Keep what matters, let the rest rest in the archives. In both ice and data, preservation is a balance between memory and movement. As you reflect on these frozen camps, think about the routines you chase and the memories you preserve. Where are your daily camps, and what traces do you leave behind? Share a moment you wish you could freeze in time and where you'd revisit it. Tap like if this journey warmed you despite the cold, and subscribe for more gentle explorations of hidden worlds. Now take a deep breath, feel the steady rhythm of your own routines, and carry the nomad's lesson of adaptation and preservation into your day. Volcanic Sunken Port. Imagine standing on a quiet coastline, staring out at a peaceful sea. The waves lap gently at the shore, and beneath the surface lies something almost impossible to believe: an entire ancient port buried in stone. Ships, frozen in time, their wooden bodies turned into rock. Harbors once filled with voices and trade now lie silent, encased in volcanic ash. It wasn't the sea that took them, it was on fire. Long ago, this place was alive with movement. Sailors unloading goods, children running along wooden planks, fishermen mending their nets under the morning sun. The port was a pulse point of life, boats coming and going, stories from distant lands arriving with every tide. And then, with almost no warning, the volcano woke up. Have you ever had a normal day turn into something unforgettable? Just one moment where everything changed? Maybe it was an unexpected message, a sudden storm, or a shift in a relationship. That's how it must have felt here. One day the harbor was full of life. The next, it was under a sky turned black with smoke, ash falling like snow, lava racing down the mountain faster than anyone could outrun. People ran. Some didn't make it. And then silence. When the lava cooled, it didn't just destroy. It is preserved. Like a sculptor, it froze ships in place. Rope, wood, barrels, all encased in molten rock that solidified around them. What should have been lost was saved. but in a strange and haunting way. A harbor now underwater and sealed in stone became a secret kept by the earth itself. Have you ever visited a place where time felt paused? Maybe an abandoned train station or an old attic no one had opened in years. There's a stillness that speaks louder than sound. That's the feeling these volcanic ruins give. You don't just see the stone ships, you feel the echo of their last moment. The rush, the panic, the heat, and then the quiet. This story isn't just about a disaster, it's about the strange way life and destruction can work together, that something as wild as lava can also protect the past, that what we fear might also help us remember. It reminds us that sometimes the most powerful preservation doesn't come from careful planning, but from chaos. Think of your own life. Think of the moments that didn't go as planned, the things that fell apart or burned down or changed overnight. Sometimes those are the memories that stay, not because we wanted them to, but because they shaped us. Like the lava-shaped stone. The harbor is gone, but it's not forgotten. It's still there, deep beneath the surface, reminding us that even in destruction, stories survive. It's strange, isn't it? How much of our world is built on forgotten things? Cities rise over ruins. Forests grow over roads. And under the ocean, hidden in rock, are reminders of the lives that came before us. If you looked at the water from above, you'd see only the waves, calm, blue, but beneath, there is silence filled with meaning. This connects to how we carry the past in our minds, memories we thought we buried, moments we thought would fade, but under pressure, those memories take form. They become part of our foundation. Sometimes, we even build our future on them. Just like people once built new towns near old ports, hoping for safety, while the earth quietly held onto its secrets. So here's a question for you. What is one memory you thought would disappear, but still lives inside you? Maybe it's a loss, a goodbye, or a mistake. Or maybe it's something small. A moment of peace you didn't expect to keep. Share it if you like. This space is for gentle thoughts and quiet stories. And if this journey through the volcanic port gave you something to think about, I'd love it if you tapped like or left a comment. It helps this little channel grow and lets us keep exploring soft mysteries like this one. There's more to come. More ruins, more echoes, more quiet places where the past still whispers. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Feel the ground beneath you. And remember, sometimes the fire that changes everything also leaves behind a trace, one that still speaks even after thousands of years. Mirror salt, flats. Have you ever walked on a surface so reflective it felt like you were walking on the sky? As if the earth had vanished and all that remained was a thin, glowing sheet of water holding up the clouds. It sounds like a dream, but it's real. Somewhere in the world, there are vast salt flats so smooth and clear, they look like giant mirrors stretching out in every direction. And long before travelers came with cameras or drones, these mirror lands were sacred ground. Long ago, people didn't just pass through these places. They gathered there, under open skies, without walls or roofs. They stood barefoot on land that reflected the heavens. It wasn't just beautiful. It felt powerful, like being surrounded by something greater than yourself, something that made you quiet inside. Imagine standing there at dawn. The air is cool, the silence wide. You look down and see the stars beneath your feet, even as the sun starts to rise. Maybe you've had a moment like that, unexpected and quiet, where the world felt bigger but your worries felt smaller. A long walk after an argument, a silent snowfall during the night. A place where time didn't matter for a little while. That's the kind of feeling people once came to the salt flats for. Not to escape the world, but to remember that they were part of it. Today we often see pictures of these flats during the rainy season when a thin layer of water sits on top of the salt. It creates a mirror so perfect, the line between sky and earth disappears. But the salt itself is ancient. It holds memories of long-gone lakes, of changing climates, of footsteps that no longer press into the surface. People used to come and gather in circles here. They sang, they shared food, they prayed, maybe not with words but with presence. Just being there, together, was enough. What if we still did that? What if instead of rushing from place to place, we stopped on quiet ground and just looked up or down and saw both the sky and self reflected back? It's easy to forget the power of stillness in a world that's always asking us to move. But these salt flats are a reminder. Sometimes stillness is where the deepest things happen. Some say these places were once part of ancient trade routes. Others believe they were centers for stargazing and rituals we don't fully understand anymore. And maybe that's okay. Maybe not knowing is part of the wonder. After all, do you always need to know why something moves you? You don't need a map to feel awe. You just need to be there, to feel the silence settle, to notice the space around you and the reflection beneath you. In life, we spend so much time building routines, plans, expectations. But on the salt flats, there is nothing to build. No trees, no buildings, no shadows. Only you, the light, and the sky. And in that open space, strange thoughts can rise. Thoughts you didn't know you were holding. Memories, fears, even dreams that seemed buried. The salt reflects more than light. It reflects what we carry inside. It's a bit like looking into a still lake or a clean mirror during a quiet moment. Have you ever done that? Looked at yourself not to check your appearance, but just to see? Sometimes you don't recognize the person you find there. Other times, you see yourself more clearly than ever. That's the kind of quiet truth these sacred plains invite. And there's something else too. These flats don't stay in mirrors all year. Most of the time they're dry, cracked, almost alien-looking. But then the rains come. Just enough water to cover the ground. And for a short time, the reflection returns. That too feels meaningful. Because in life there are seasons, times when everything looks dull or broken, and then something shifts. A small change, a conversation, a feeling, a bit of hope, and suddenly things reflect again. Beauty comes back. Not forever, maybe, but enough. If you've ever gone through a hard season and found your way back to something peaceful, then you already know what that reflection means. You've lived it. Some believe these places connected people not just to the sky, but to each other. Standing on land where earth and air meet, people felt smaller, yes, but also more connected. Because when everything around you becomes quiet and wide, you realize you're not the center of the story, but you're still part of it. And that's strangely comforting. What do you think about that? Have you ever been to a place where the ground seemed to speak in silence? Or do you know a quiet place near you where the world feels different? If you'd like to share, I'd love to hear it. This little channel is a place for soft stories and kind thoughts. You're always welcome here. And if this story of Mirror Salt Flats gave you a moment of pause or a sense of peace, feel free to like or subscribe. It helps others find their way here too. More gentle journeys are on the way. Take another deep breath now, slow and easy. Let your eyes soften. Let your thoughts drift. Somewhere, the mirror plains still wait, still silent, still shining. And in their reflection, maybe, just maybe, you'll see something in yourself too. Buried Tree City. Imagine walking across a quiet, soggy field. The ground is soft beneath your feet. The wind is still. Nothing around you seems unusual. Just open land, damp earth, and low clouds. But then someone tells you, under this very ground, there are wooden buildings, entire homes, doorways, walls, all made from trees, all buried and preserved in the cold, dark peat for thousands of years. And suddenly, everything feels different. You're not just walking across a field. You're walking across a memory. There is something haunting about that. To think that a whole wooden city once stood where now only moss and water remain. Not stone, not metal, just wood. Fragile, familiar, warm. The kind of material we still Used today, chairs, doors, tables, these things haven't changed much. And maybe that's why it feels so strange. Because what lies buried under the bog isn't just history. It feels oddly close. Like you could reach down and touch the past with your bare hands. Have you ever walked into an old wooden cabin or touched a carved table that seemed to hold stories inside it? Maybe it reminded you of your grandparents' home, or a family trip, or simply the smell of rain on wood. That quiet connection, that whisper of something human, is what makes these buried wooden cities so powerful. They remind us how close the past can be, not distant and cold, but warm and lived in, just hidden. These peat bogs where the cities sleep are special. They're like natural time machines. The thick, wet soil doesn't let air in, so the wood doesn't rot, the walls stay in place, the floors don't fall apart. Even tiny carvings or tools can survive. And when archaeologists dig carefully into the earth, they don't just find ruins, they find rooms, paths, wooden fences, and stairways. It's as if someone just stepped out for a moment and hasn't returned yet. It makes you wonder. What were their lives like? Did they sit by a firelight and tell stories like we do? Did they worry about the weather? Did they argue with neighbors, laugh with children? Maybe they watched birds fly across the sky and felt the same mix of wonder and peace that we feel today. So much has changed, but maybe not everything. Sometimes, in daily life, we forget how deep the ground beneath us really goes, not just physically, but in meaning. We walk on pavement or grass and think only of where we're going, the store, work, school. But beneath us are layers, layers of time, of memory, of people who lived, loved, and left behind small traces of who they were. It's strange to think that their footsteps and ours might share the same earth, just separated by time. And there's a kind of quiet lesson in that. One we don't talk about much. It's this: even simple things can last. A wooden wall, a carved beam, a handprint in clay. These were never made to be remembered forever, and yet, somehow, they are. Which makes you wonder, what will be left behind of us? Not in books or photos, but in small ordinary things. A note, a cup, a quiet room. What matters most in the end might not be the loud moments, but the quiet ones. The evenings were spent making dinner, the small kindnesses, the places where we felt at peace. Those moments are soft, like wood, but soft things can last a long time if they're held with care. Some people say these wooden cities were once part of larger villages, places where families gathered, where people sang or traded goods. Others think they might have been ceremonial, built near water to honor something sacred. We may never know for sure, but the mystery itself is part of the beauty. Not everything needs to be explained. Some things are meant to be felt. Have you ever been somewhere that made you feel something you couldn't describe? A forest after rain. A quiet room at night. A childhood place now grown over. Places like that remind us that memory isn't always loud. Sometimes it's soft, gentle, like the outline of a doorway under peat, still holding its shape, still whispering its story. And that's what makes these buried tree cities so moving. They didn't survive because they were made to last. They survived because the earth embraced them, slowly, gently, with moss and water and time. And in that embrace, something ancient was kept safe. Maybe there's something to learn from that, too. In our busy lives, we often rush to build things that shine. That impresses me. That last. But maybe what really lasts is what's held gently. What's rooted in care. What's allowed to rest. So if this story has made you pause, even just a little, I invite you to share. Have you ever visited a place where history felt close? Or touched something old and felt that quiet awe? This space is for you. For your memories. For your thoughts. For all the quiet things that don't always have a place to be heard. And if you'd like more soft stories like this one, you're welcome to stay. maybe subscribe, or just return. When the world feels too loud, take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. The wooden city still sleeps beneath the moss. The stories are still there, waiting, watching, whispering, just beneath your feet. Coral Temple Garden. Imagine a temple built not by human hands but by the sea itself. A place where pillars rise slowly from the ocean floor, not carved from stone, but grown by tiny living creatures, layer by layer over centuries. Now imagine that once, people may have gathered in this place, not above the water, but beneath it, praying, singing, or simply watching the light fall through the waves. A temple garden shaped by coral, a sacred space born from the ocean. Have you ever floated in the sea and looked down at the world beneath you? It's a strange feeling, like visiting a place where everything is moving and still at the same time. Fish drift past, light dances across the sand, and time seems to slow down. Now imagine diving deeper, and instead of scattered rocks and seaweed, you see tall, coral-covered columns standing in perfect lines. Not random, not wild, but organized, thoughtful, almost as if someone planned it, as if the sea was following a forgotten blueprint. It sounds like a dream, but around the world, there are places where coral reefs grow in patterns that feel too perfect to be natural. Straight paths, open spaces, pillars that rise like doorways. Some say they are just chance, reef shapes growing around sunken stones. Others believe they are ancient structures, temples or shrines swallowed by the sea long ago and now claimed by coral. Like nature continuing what humans began. Have you ever seen a building slowly being taken back by nature? An old house with vines in the windows, a stone wall cracked by tree roots. It feels sad in one way, but also peaceful. The way the world gently reclaims what we leave behind. These coral gardens feel like that, like something was left, and the ocean decided to keep it safe. And maybe that's why it stirs something deep in us. The ocean is so wide, so unknowable, and yet here it is, holding something fragile and sacred in its arms, letting it change, letting it live. Underwater temples are built not from force, but from growth. It makes you think about how belief and beauty can take many forms. We often imagine temples as high places, built on mountains, touched by sunlight. But what if some were built in quiet, hidden places too? Beneath the waves, among the fish, surrounded by silence. These coral structures don't shout, they whisper. And sometimes whispers stay with us longer. There's also something strange and wonderful about the idea that coral, so small, so delicate, can create something so grand, just like people. We often feel small too, busy, lost. But over time, little things grow. A word of kindness, a quiet prayer, a habit, or a hope. These things build slowly, but they can become something beautiful, something strong. Some say the people who may have built or visited these underwater places were early divers, holding their breath, swimming deep, finding meaning in the stillness. Maybe they believed that the sea connected them to the spirit world. Or maybe it just felt peaceful, safe, different from the world above. We may never know exactly what these coral temple gardens were used for, but that doesn't make them any less real. In fact, the mystery makes them more powerful, because they invite us to imagine, to feel, to wonder. And sometimes, wondering is enough. Do you have a place where you go when you need to feel calm? Maybe it's not underwater. Maybe it's a quiet room, or a walk in the park, or a memory. The coral gardens feel like that, a hidden place inside the world, a breath beneath the surface. There's also a quiet lesson here about time. Coral grows slowly. A reef might take hundreds of years to become what it is. There's no rushing, no pushing, just patience. And maybe that's something we need to remember in our lives too, that it's okay to grow slowly, to take time, that beauty doesn't always come fast. Even in relationships, learning, or healing, we often want quick answers. But real things, the deep things, grow like coral, layer by layer, soft at first, but strong in the end. And in a world that moves so fast, it's comforting to think that something is still growing slowly, beneath the surface, quietly, gracefully, becoming something more with each passing day. Have you ever felt like you were building something invisible? A dream, a habit, a hope. Like coral, you may not see it all at once, but it's there, taking shape, becoming real. If you've ever swum in clear water and seen coral up close, you'll know how strange and lovely it looks. All those tiny shapes like frozen lace or underwater flowers. And now imagine all of that, forming a space where people once gathered. A coral temple garden, sacred not because of what it was made of, but because of what it held. Silence, belief, time. And maybe that's the real magic. Even now, long after the voices have faded, the garden still remains, alive in a different way, open to the sea, open to us. So if this thought brought a little stillness to your evening, I invite you to share. Maybe you've visited a place that felt sacred in an unexpected way, or maybe there's a memory you return to when the world feels too loud. This space is for you too. And if you'd like more soft stories, more slow wonder, you're always welcome to return here. You don't have to speak. Just listen. Just feel. The coral garden is still there, quiet, waiting, growing. Wind-eroded pillars. Have you ever looked at a shape in nature and felt like it was trying to say something, like it had a secret, but you weren't sure what it meant? Imagine standing in the middle of a vast, silent desert. The sun is setting, and the wind is calm for once. In front of you rise tall stone columns, towering, carved, almost regal. But no person shaped them. These were made by time, sand, and wind. You're not sure why, but something about them feels familiar, like a story waiting to be told. There are places on Earth where time seems to have slowed down. The desert is one of them. Unlike cities or forests that change with the seasons, deserts keep their secrets longer. Wind and sand take their time. They don't rush. They shape the land slowly, gently, year after year, century after century. And in some places, the result is astonishing. Giant stone columns, tall, narrow, curved, and cracked, stand quietly under open skies. At first glance, they look like something left behind by a forgotten civilization. But in truth, they are nature's work. Or maybe, depending on how you see it, a quiet collaboration between nature and memory. Some believe these wind-eroded pillars are just rocks. Others feel they're more than that. If you've ever walked near one, you might understand why. They don't just stand, they reach, upward, outward, sometimes leaning like they're listening. And their surfaces are not smooth. They're lined, like aged faces. Every groove, every edge, tells of a storm that passed, a wind that scraped, a moment that mattered. But there's no voice to tell you what actually happened. Only the feeling remains. Do you live near mountains, or maybe somewhere with hills and rocks shaped by the wind? Have you ever touched a stone and felt it was softer than it looked? That's how these pillars feel. Not soft in the way we know softness, but soft like something alive once touched them. Many of the tallest ones are made of sandstone, a kind of rock that crumbles easily when wind and sand brush against it for long enough. That brushing, gentle but endless, acts like a sculptor's hand. It's strange to think of sand, something so small, creating something so big. But sand carries power, not because of its size, but because of how long it works. It's a reminder, maybe, that the small things we do, over time, can shape something huge, like kind words spoken every day, or small steps towards something we want. Sand does not try to change the world all at once. It just keeps moving. And that movement makes monuments. The people who once lived near these stone formations may have felt the same quiet magic. We don't know exactly what they thought, but In some ancient cultures, the rocks were more than nature. They were storytellers. Some believe spirits lived in them. Others believe they were markers, signals left by travelers or ancestors. In dry lands where maps don't exist and the wind erases footprints, a standing stone becomes a memory that cannot be forgotten. Imagine walking for days across sand, with no sign of water or shelter. Then suddenly, you see these tall, silent pillars rising from the horizon. Would you think they were natural? Or would you wonder who built them? Maybe you'd stop and rest in their shade. Maybe you'd speak to them quietly. Some stories say travelers used to whisper their wishes into the wind near these pillars, hoping the desert would carry their words farther than their voices could. Have you ever whispered something into the wind? Maybe on a beach, maybe in a forest. There's something comforting about it. It feels like you're being heard, even if no one is around. That's what these stone columns offer. Silent attention. They don't judge. They don't speak. But they seem to listen. If you look closely at them, you might notice patterns that look almost like carvings, swirls, layers, cracks that seem placed with purpose. It's tempting to think someone designed them, but that's the paradox. The most beautiful, intentional-looking things can come from complete randomness, just sand and time. It's a little like a dream. We don't choose how they form, but they come from us all the same. And sometimes they reveal something we didn't know we were carrying. Some researchers say these formations are millions of years old, that the landscape around them has changed completely. But the pillars remain, like memories that can't be erased. Even when the sand moves, even when the wind changes direction, they stand. Some lean, some crack, some fall, but many remain, quiet, unmoved, and oddly proud. There's a kind of peace in that, in knowing that something can endure without needing attention. That beauty doesn't always ask to be seen. That strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just stands still in silence. Maybe that's something to carry with us. In our own lives, we rush, we build, we try to change things quickly. But maybe, like the wind and sand, we can trust the slow work, the small moments, the gentle shaping, whether it's learning something new, healing from something painful, or simply growing older. It doesn't have to happen fast to matter. These stone pillars, carved by wind, remind us that being shaped by time isn't weakness. It's wisdom. They were not made in a moment. They were not designed by hand. And yet, they hold stories just as rich, just as deep, as anything we've written down. Have you ever felt like time was shaping you? Not just in big moments, but in small ones. Long bus rides, quiet mornings, conversations that stayed with you. We are all being carved softly by our days. The weather of life brushes against us. It leaves marks. And over time, those marks become who we are. So maybe tonight, as you listen and rest, you can let go of the rush. Trust that what is shaping you is doing so gently. You don't have to force it. You don't have to know the final form. Just like the wind-eroded pillars didn't know they'd become something beautiful, maybe you don't have to know either. You are becoming. Slowly. Quietly. And that's enough. If you've ever stood in a place that made you feel small, but in a good way, a mountaintop, a desert, or even a wide-open field, maybe you felt what those ancient travelers felt when they saw these pillars, a sense that something older than us is still here, watching, listening, and reminding us that we are not alone. If you've seen such a place or felt something similar, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. What's one quiet place that made you stop and breathe? And if you haven't yet, maybe one day you'll find your own version of the stone columns, a place shaped by time, a space where the wind seems to pause, where the stories are not loud, but they're always there. Waiting. Cave wall scripts. Imagine stepping into a hush so deep it feels like the air holds its breath. You walk on uneven stone, guided only by a small beam of light. Ahead, the walls open into a hidden cavern. Your light falls on shapes carved centuries. Ego, lines, dots, and figures that seem to dance in the flicker. These are petroglyphs, ancient messages left on stone. They were never meant for everyday eyes. They were meant for the stars. Long ago, people entered these caves to leave marks. Not graffiti, but careful symbols, animals, human figures, abstract signs. Each carving was placed with intention. Some face the cave entrance, welcoming sunlight. Others face deep darkness, as if speaking to what lies beyond. It's as if the people who made them believed that their words would travel through stone, through air, and into the sky itself. Have you ever whispered a secret into a seashell and held it to your ear? You expect ocean sounds. Instead, you hear yourself, your own voice carried back. That same echo lives in these caves. When you speak near the carvings, your voice bounces and returns, mingling with the silent shapes on the wall. It's a reminder that messages can travel in strange ways. We sent text messages today, tapping screens. Ancient people carved stone. Both acts are small bridges between one mind and another. In our daily lives we leave traces too. A note on the fridge, a doodle in a notebook, a message sent at midnight. We hope someone finds it. We hope it matters. In caves, the stakes felt higher. Perhaps the carvings were prayers to the stars, to ancestors, to forces unseen. The cave was a womb of earth, and the carvings were seeds planted in dark soil, meant to grow into light. And there's a paradox here. The cave is hidden, dark, and silent. Yet the messages are meant to travel outward, to the sky, to the stars, to the heavens. It's like writing a letter in a diary, then slipping it under a door that leads nowhere. Except in this case, the door is the rock, and the letter goes up into the night. Think of the way we look at the night sky, searching for patterns in stars. We draw lines between points of light and call them constellations. We tell stories about hunters, gods, and heroes. Ancient people did the same, but they also carved their own stories on cave walls, as if to anchor sky tales on earth. They built a two-way street between ground and sky, carving symbols below to meet the patterns above. In relationships, we do something similar. We share secrets in quiet places, whispered in hallways, scrawled in letters, tapped in messages. We hope they reach the other person's heart. We trust that our words, like the petroglyphs, will endure. But sometimes messages fade, phones break, ink runs, memories dim. The cave carving survived because stone resists time. Yet even stone can erode. The carvings remind us that nothing is permanent, and that preserving what matters takes care. That lesson touches how we treat our own histories. We store photos in the cloud, backup files, and scribble in journals. We hope to leave something for those who come after. The cave artists did the same. They left messages not for themselves, but for future eyes. Maybe human, maybe divine. They knew the cave would outlast their lives, so they chose stone, the hardest canvas they could find. Today, AI can scan cave walls and recreate lost images. Machine learning spots patterns we miss. Yet technology still needs human wonder. It needs us to ask, why draw here? What did these symbols mean to the people who carved them? The carvings bridge ancient belief and modern curiosity. They show us that even the oldest messages can speak to new minds. If you've ever left a note for someone to find, you know the hope in that act. You know the small thrill of wondering if it will be read. Share that feeling in the comments. Have you ever found something unexpected? A note, a carving, a message that touched you? Where were you? What did it say? If this quiet journey into hidden caverns brought a moment of calm, tap like. If you want more gentle explorations of our world's soft mysteries, subscribe. There are more hidden messages waiting beneath the surface, waiting for us to listen. Now close your eyes for a moment. Picture the cave walls, the cool stone under your hand, the silent carvings reaching for the stars. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out. Carry that still connection with you into your dreams tonight. Sky Pillar Ruins. What if you looked across a field of quiet grass and saw the broken base of something massive, like a neck without a head or a spine turned to stone? You stand there, and it feels like the land itself once reached for the sky. But now all that remains are the shadows of tall towers, lying in pieces, forgotten and overgrown. These are the sky pillars, great stone columns that once stood tall, maybe higher than trees, maybe tall enough to catch clouds. And now, they've fallen. The wind moves through them like a soft voice remembering what they once were. Sometimes, we see buildings today and call them skyscrapers, tall steel and glass pointing into the sky. We stand at their base and tilt our heads back, necks craning, as if to catch the tip of a dream. But even they don't last forever. The sky pillars were different. They were made of stone. Not just stone stacked on stone, but shaped, carved, aligned. They stood with purpose. And now they lie scattered, huge blocks half buried, their tops broken off, their foundations cracked. Have you ever tried to build something tall with blocks or books? As a child, maybe, or even now, when bored on a rainy day. There's always that moment where the whole thing wobbles just before it falls. That sudden silence when you hold your breath, hoping it will balance. That same silence must have existed here, in the place of the sky pillars, before they fell, before the earth shook. Or maybe time simply wore them down, slow and quiet like moss growing across stone. In some places, people say these towers held up the sky. That's how high they were. Not in a real physical way, but in stories, in imagination, in belief. It's like how we say someone held the family together, or carried the weight of the world. We know it's not literal, but we feel the truth in it. These pillars in their time held meaning like that. They gave shape to belief. Maybe they were part of temples, or markers for travelers, or maybe just symbols saying, "Look how high we can reach." Have you ever set a goal that felt like a tower? Something high, something far away. You start with the first step, a sentence, a habit, a plan. Then you build, one piece at a time. Some days you feel like you're climbing higher. Other days, it falls apart. That's the strange thing about reaching up. It's always followed by looking down. The sky pillars remind us of that. They remind us how fragile even our tallest dreams can be. But there's comfort in ruins, too. When something falls and breaks, it doesn't mean it disappears. The pieces stay. The shape may change, but the meaning can deepen. Just like when someone we care about changes, or when we ourselves go through something that cracks us open. Maybe we become something softer, more grounded, like the pillars. No, longer standing but still present. And sometimes, in the quiet of evening light, shadows fall across these ruins. Long, soft shadows that stretch and curl. They seem to echo the shape of the towers that once were. But shadows fade, and memories fade, too. That's the gentle sadness of time. Not everything is meant to stay sharp. Some things blur. But even in the blur, there is beauty. Can you think of a place near you that feels like this? An old building, a forgotten foundation, a stone path no one walks anymore. Share it if you'd like. Tell us where it is. What it feels like to stand there. Maybe someone else has stood in that same spot and wondered the same things. Maybe silence connects us more than sound ever could. In a way, the fallen pillars also speak about mental health, about how we often feel pressure to stand tall, to stay strong, to hold everything up. But sometimes we can't. And sometimes we fall. That doesn't mean we're broken beyond repair. It means we're human. We still have our base. We still exist. And someone walking by, quietly, might find beauty in our ruins, might see strength in how we remain, even if we've changed. Even in language, we use the word pillar to mean support. A pillar of the community, a pillar of faith, a pillar of strength. But pillars can lean. They can break. They can fall. And that too is okay. The sky remains. The stars remain. We remain. Just in different shapes than before. Some believe the towers once pointed to specific stars, that they were part of a map, or a calendar, or a guide. Like how some apps today guide us through meditation or sleep, or how a song can guide us through a tough moment. These ruins once gave direction, and even now, though they no longer point up, they still point inward. They ask us to pause, to look down, to be still. If this journey through fallen towers brought you peace, even for a moment, feel free to share that calm with someone else. Tap like if it feels familiar. Subscribe if you'd like more quiet explorations like this. And maybe next time you see a stone that looks like it once belonged to something bigger, pause. Let yourself feel its weight, its story, its silent. Now breathe slowly. Picture the field, the soft wind, the broken stones beneath the wide sky. Let your thoughts rest there for a while. You don't have to rebuild the tower. Just stand beside it. Let the quiet do the talking. Let it guide you into sleep. Salt-crusted statues. Imagine walking across a dry, silent plain where the ground cracks beneath your feet. The air tastes dry, and the only sound is the soft crunch of salt under your shoes. Then, just ahead, you see a figure. Still, frozen, covered in thick white crystals. At first, it looks like a person standing completely still. You move closer. It's not moving, not breathing. Just a shape, once made by hands, now changed by time and nature. This is one of the salt-crusted statues. Once carved, now transformed, covered in layers of salt from a sea that no longer exists. Have you ever left something near the ocean for too long? Maybe a toy, a bottle cap, or even a pair of shoes. After a while, it comes back crusted, white and rough. Salt changes everything. It leaves its mark. These statues were left behind in places where water used to be. When the seas pulled back or dried up, they left salt behind. Slowly the figures were covered, inch by inch, flake by flake, until they were no longer just statues. They became something else, a blend of art and earth. There's something strange and haunting about them. They look human, but they're not alive. They seem to watch, but they don't see. It's like walking into a dream where time has stopped, or a memory that won't fade. Some of the statues are missing pieces, a nose, a hand, a foot. Others are whole, just completely covered. The salt clings to them like snow that never melts. Have you ever stood still in a moment of sadness or deep thought and felt like the world was passing you by? Like time kept moving, but you didn't? That feeling, in a way, lives inside these statues. They carry a stillness we often try to avoid in real life. But here, in the salt flats, stillness is not failure. It's a story, a quiet, patient one. And perhaps there's something comforting in that. Because salt, while rough and sharp, also preserves. People have used salt for thousands of years to keep food from going bad. In that way, salt is like memory. It keeps things from disappearing. It protects what would otherwise fade. So maybe these salt-covered figures aren't forgotten. Maybe they are remembered in a different way, by being sealed in time. Can you think of a time when you wanted to hold on to something? A feeling? A person? A moment? Like pressing a flower between pages, hoping it stays as it was? We all have those memories. They don't always stay fresh. They change. Sometimes they become coated with layers of distance. That's what salt does here. It doesn't erase the statue. It just changes how it looks. And some believe these statues had meaning long ago. Maybe they were part of a temple, or a line of guardians, or just someone's way of honoring a story. But now, we look at them and wonder, what did they stand for? Who made them? What happened to the water? The answers are gone, but the questions remain. That's the paradox. How something so quiet can ask so much. Do you know of a statue near where you live? Something in a park or square? A figure that has stood for years while people walk by, barely noticing? Tell us about it. Share what it feels like to see it. Maybe there's a story behind it. Maybe it simply waits, like these salt-crusted ones, for someone to really stop and look. The idea of figures frozen in place touches on something deep in us, because sometimes we feel frozen too. Not by salt, but by fear, by doubt, by pressure. We hold still in relationships we've outgrown. We freeze before big choices, unsure of the next step. But stillness isn't always bad. Sometimes we need to pause, to let the dust or salt settle, to become still enough to hear our own thoughts. Even in language, we have phases like salt of the earth to describe someone steady and honest. Salt carries meaning beyond taste. In old stories, salt was sacred. It was a gift, a way to bless. So maybe the salt covering these statues is not a punishment, but a kind of strange honor, a soft, grainy reminder of something once sacred. And maybe, just maybe, some of these statues are not ancient. Maybe they're modern. Maybe someone placed them there on purpose, to feel what it means to be forgotten, or to ask what it means to be remembered. Maybe they wanted to see how the world would change their art. Or maybe they were left behind when a town disappeared and the sea swallowed everything but the stone. Have you ever drawn something in the sand, only to have the waves take it away? The feeling is the same, a mix of beauty and sadness. These statues stand where the sea once was. And though the water is gone, the salt remains. Just like how even when someone leaves our lives, parts of them remain. A word they used to say, a smell, a song. These things stay, like salt on stone. It's also a reminder about how nature and humans always shape each other. We build statues, the earth covers them, we carve meaning. Nature layers silence, and still the result is something beautiful. Not what we planned, but something new, like how life rarely goes how we expect. But sometimes that change, slow, silent, and strange, brings a beauty we couldn't have imagined. If this story helped you slow down, helped you breathe a little softer, feel free to stay here a while, or share your thoughts. Maybe there's someone else who feels the same pull toward silence and mystery, toward old stories that don't need answers, just gentle attention. Now picture the plain again, the dry ground, the soft wind, the shape of a figure in the distance, frozen in salt, calm and patient. Let yourself be still with it. Let the quiet settle over your thoughts like a blanket. You don't have to solve the mystery. You just have to feel it. Let that feeling guide you gently into sleep. Sunken roadways underwater. Imagine swimming through calm, crystal-clear water, and just beneath you, a perfect stone road stretches into the blue. It looks like something out of a dream. Clean lines, even shapes, as if someone built it on land but forgot it would soon disappear under the sea. No signs, no fences, no cars, just a quiet road under gentle waves leading to nowhere. Have you ever walked down a street and suddenly realized you didn't remember where you were going? You were just moving, step by step, habit carrying you. That's what these underwater roads feel like. A path laid out with care, but now lost to time and tide. Some say they were once part of busy cities. Others believe they were sacred paths, made for quiet processions. Now they're silent. The fish pass by, but the roads stay still. And here's the strange part. Some of these roads look perfect. The stones are shaped into smooth rectangles, lined up like puzzle pieces. Others are cracked, broken, or covered in seaweed. But all of them feel like they were meant for something. That's what draws people to them. They look like purpose, but they lead to mystery. Have you ever stood in a classroom or sat at work and asked yourself, why am I doing this? Everything looked planned, the books, the desks, the schedules. But inside it felt like wandering. These sunken roads are a bit like that, structure without direction, effort without explanation. And yet, they're still beautiful. Some of these roads vanish into deep water. Some lead to coral. Others just stop, as if whoever built them never finished. It makes you wonder, what happened? Did the ocean rise slowly, day by day? Or did one great storm swallow it all at once? We may never know, and maybe that's okay. Not every question needs an answer. Some roads are meant to be felt, not solved. Think of your own life. Are there paths you've walked that now feel far away? Maybe a friendship that faded, a dream you once had, a plan that didn't work out. They were real. You gave them time, energy, maybe even love, but now they feel sunken, hidden under the surface, not gone, just quiet. That's what these roads are, quiet stories. And when you float above them, or even just look at pictures, they invite something soft into the mind. They say, not everything has to go somewhere. Some things just are. That thought can be peaceful. We often feel like we have to rush, finish, succeed. But these roads remind us that even unfinished things can be beautiful. Even lost things have value. If you've ever been near a lake or the sea and seen something old under the water, a fence, a piece of metal, an old dock, you've felt a piece of this mystery. It's the same pull that makes people stare at the horizon or watch rain slide down windows. It's not loud, it's not exciting, but it reaches deep. And maybe these roads are not mistakes or ruins. Maybe they're reminders that time moves, that nature doesn't wait, that nothing we build lasts forever. And that's not a sad thought, it's freeing. If roads can sink and still be beautiful, then maybe our pasts can too. Maybe even the parts of us we hide, forget, or leave behind can still shine in their own quiet way. Some divers say when you swim above one of these sunken roads, it feels like flying, like walking on air. The water holds you up, the road pulls you forward, but there's no noise, no rules, no pressure, just you and the path below. Isn't that something we all want sometimes? A way forward, with no rush. A journey, but no deadline. Have you ever dreamed of finding something old and forgotten? Maybe digging in the sand and finding a coin, or opening a drawer and finding an old letter? That feeling, that mix of wonder and peace, that's what these roads carry. They're not shouting to be seen. They're just waiting, patient and calm. And in a strange way, they make you think about memory. Our own minds are full of roads, aren't they? Some clear, some foggy, some leading to laughter, others to sadness. But we walk them anyway, over and over, even the ones that are underwater, especially those. So I invite you to share. Is there a place near you where nature and human work meet like this? A half-buried path? A broken pier? A sidewalk that ends in trees? These places connect us. They remind us that we are part of something larger, that our efforts leave marks, even if they vanish. Language is strange like that, too. We speak words, write stories, and they move through time. Some are forgotten, some stay, but all of them matter. Just like these roads. They were built. Someone shaped each stone. Maybe they prayed there, or danced, or walked with someone they loved, and even though they're gone, the shape remains. That's powerful. And yes, maybe these roads were once part of cities. Maybe they connected villages. Maybe they were used for trade. But now they serve a different purpose. They slow us down. They ask us to look, not rush. To feel, not fix. That's a rare gift. So tonight, if your mind is busy, racing down all the paths of what if and what now, let it rest here, on a stone road underwater. Let the current carry your thoughts. Let the silence sink in. There's no need to arrive. The journey is enough. Close your eyes. Picture it clearly. Clear water. Soft light. A road made of stone, slowly fading into blue. You don't need to walk it. Just float above. Let it hold your attention like a lullaby. Let yourself drift. Gently, kindly, and when sleep comes, let it feel like stepping onto that road, one soft stone at a time, into dreams. Mist-shrouded canyon. Have you ever walked into a thick morning fog where everything familiar suddenly feels strange, where trees become shadows, and even the path beneath your feet feels less certain? Now imagine stepping into a deep canyon, filled with that same fog, so thick it wraps around carved homes in the cliffs, softens every sound, and makes it feel like the world has quietly paused. There's something both peaceful and haunting about that image, a hidden world resting inside silence. Have you ever seen fog roll into your town early in the morning, blurring streetlights, turning people into slow-moving outlines? For a short while, it feels like everything slows down. That's the feeling that lives inside this canyon. The carved dwellings look as if they were once full of life. Doors shaped into rock, steps leading up the cliff walls, windows staring out into the mist. But now, they sit quietly, wrapped in stillness, as if waiting for someone to return. People used to live here, that much is clear. They carved their homes by hand, deep into the rock. They chose the cliffs for protection, for quiet, for space. It would have taken years, maybe generations, working with tools against stone, day after day, all for a place to belong. And now, it's silent. Only the fog moves. What's strange is how the mist makes the canyon feel even more alive, as if the air remembers. It flows gently over the edges, slips into doorways, curls through windows. It moves like breath, like thought, like memories. The fog makes the canyon feel not empty but dreaming, like it's thinking about the people who once lived here. Have you ever walked into a quiet room and felt the presence of something old? Maybe a scent, or the way the light falls, or just a feeling. These fog-filled canyons carry that same energy. It isn't loud, it doesn't shout for attention, but it stays with you, long after you leave. If you've ever experienced fog during an exam morning or a first day at work, you'll know how it can turn even the brightest places into gentle shadows. It quiets everything. The world doesn't stop, but it hushes. That's what these canyons do. They hush the noise of thought. They invite you to slow down, to breathe. People say you can still find footsteps in the dust, handprints on the walls, scratches where tools once shaped stone. These small marks feel personal, like someone just stepped away for a moment. But no one returns. It's as if time here decided to sleep instead of move forward. Sometimes we hold on to places in our hearts like that. Rooms from childhood, a street we once walked often, a cafe where we shared something important. Even if we never go back, the feeling stays. That's what the mist-shrouded canyon feels like, a place from a shared memory we never actually lived, but feel like we did. There's a strange comfort in knowing people live deep in a canyon surrounded by fog. It reminds us that even in hard-to-reach places, people found ways to belong, to build homes, to share meals, to raise children, to love. They didn't need much, just the stone, the quiet, and the will to carve something of their own. Have you ever had a moment where everything slowed down, and you noticed small things? The way tea swirls in a cup or how a shadow moves across a floor. That's the pace of the canyon. It doesn't ask you to rush. It just wants you to see, to feel, to notice. In a way, this canyon teaches us something about belief. Not religious belief, but belief in effort, in care, in beauty. These homes were not easy to make. But someone believed they were worth it, that they mattered, that they could last. And even though time has passed and the people are gone, that belief still lingers. It's in every curve of the wall, every doorway, every step. Language itself is like this. We speak words, then forget them, but some stay. Some leave marks. The carvings in the canyon are like sentences, messages without sound, stories without names. But we can still read the shape of them. We can still feel the intention. Fog also touches the way we think. On foggy days, the mind slows. It stops jumping ahead. The world feels smaller, but in a calm way. It lets us rest from the constant light and noise. That's something we don't always realize we need. A soft space, a pause, a canyon wrapped in mist. Even technology, for all its speed and noise, sometimes mirrors this feeling. Think of the background music in peaceful games, or the soft hum of machines in a quiet room. They remind us that silence and space still matter, that not everything needs to be loud to be real. So, if you've ever felt like you're moving through life in a fog, not sure where you're going, not sure what's next, maybe that's okay. Maybe that's part of it. Some of the most beautiful places are hidden until the mist clears, and even when it doesn't, there's still value in being there. I'm simply standing still. Have you ever visited a canyon or cliffside, or even just watched fog roll over hills from a window? If so, you've touched this feeling. If not, try to picture it now. The walls are rising high, quiet and steady. The fog rolled in like a soft blanket, the carvings staring back at you, gentle and still. They don't ask anything from you. They just are. And in your own life, maybe there are spaces like this too. Places you carved out during quiet times. Habits, thoughts, dreams. Maybe you haven't visited them in a while. Maybe they feel hidden, covered in mist, but they're still there, waiting, patient, like the canyon. So tonight, let your thoughts settle like fog in a quiet valley. Let yourself drift through this hidden place where people once lived, loved, and rested. You don't need to understand it. You don't need to fix it. Just be with it. Let the mist wrap gently around your mind. Let the stone walls hold your worries. Let the silence speak, one breath at a time, one thought at a time, until slowly, gently you drift into sleep like mist sliding down canyon walls, soft and endless. Lost river channels. Imagine walking through a dry, cracked valley and being told that this very place once carried enough water to feed a kingdom. You look around. Dusty ground, scattered stones, silence stretching in all directions, and it's hard to picture it. But underneath your feet, a river once rushed. It sang through the land, brought crops to life, quenched the thirst of whole cities. Now it's quiet, dry, empty, but still, somehow, full of memory. Have you ever seen an old well in a backyard? Maybe it's filled in now, or covered with leaves. But someone once pulled up cool water from it, maybe even with joy. That's the same kind of quiet magic that lives in these lost river channels. The river isn't there anymore, but its story is. It shaped the land, the lives, and maybe even the dreams of the people who lived nearby. Some of these dry beds stretch for miles. You can see the soft curves where the water used to turn, the marks it left on rock, tiny fossils of shells that once held life. It's strange how water can leave behind such a deep memory, even when it's long gone. It's like when someone leaves your life. You can still feel where they were, even in silence. Many ancient cities were built beside these rivers. They depended on the water like we depend on air. Without it, there could be no farms, no trade, no life. Imagine going to sleep at night and hearing the sound of the river outside your window. Waking up and walking to the edge to wash your face, living each day knowing the water would carry your goods, or your letters, or your prayers. And then one day, it stopped. That's the mystery. How does a river disappear? Some dried slowly as the climate changed. Some were blocked by shifting earth or forgotten wars. Others simply faded, like memories do, inch by inch, year by year, until there was nothing left but silence. Have you ever lost something important? Not all at once, but little by little. A friendship, a routine, a dream. You don't always notice it's gone until you're standing there, trying to feel something that used to be full and flowing, and now feels dry. That's what these riverbeds are. Gentle reminders that even strong things can fade. But their path still matters. Sometimes the dry channels still bloom. After rare rains, small flowers grow. Life returns, just for a while. Like when you suddenly remember a laugh from long ago, or a scent brings back a moment you thought was gone. Even in silence, the riverbed is ready. It knows how to carry life again, if only for a moment. There's something oddly comforting in that even when things disappear, their shape remains. A river's path stays carved in stone, just like our habits, our thoughts, our old dreams. They don't vanish. They wait quietly, ready for us to notice them again. In school, maybe you studied old maps, some with rivers that no longer exist. A blue line crossing the desert. A name for something that's now dust. It feels like a mistake, but It isn't. It's a memory, drawn in ink, just like the memories we carry, even when they no longer match what we see. Sometimes when we feel lost, it's not because we're in the wrong place, it's because something we counted on is no longer there. Like the river. It's gone, but we're still standing in its place, trying to understand the silence. And maybe that's okay. Maybe standing still in an old riverbed is part of the journey, too. People say the desert is silent. But if you walk these dry channels, you might hear something. Not noise exactly, but feeling. A breeze, soft and warm, carrying the shape of what once was. It brushes against your face like a memory you didn't expect, one that reminds you you're not alone. Have you ever walked down a street that used to be busy, but now it's quiet? An old store closed, an empty playground, a school hallway, on a summer afternoon. That stillness has a kind of presence. These riverbeds feel the same. Not empty, but waiting, as if the past is still whispering, and maybe we all have riverbeds inside us. Old thoughts, old beliefs, paths we once followed every day, now dry and quiet. We don't walk them anymore, but they shaped us. They taught us where to go, and maybe why. Even if we never return, we still carry the shape of them. Sometimes we want to bring those rivers back. We think if we try hard enough, we can make the water flow again, but that's not always possible. And maybe we don't need to. Maybe the memory is enough. Maybe walking the dry channel is its own kind of healing. Even machines, even AI can be taught to forget things, to let old data go. But humans, we hold on to faces, to songs, to the sound of rain on a roof. We are full of riverbeds, some dry, some flowing. And that's not a weakness. That's what makes us human. So if tonight you feel like something is missing, like something important has slowly disappeared, maybe you're walking through a dry channel of your own. Maybe you're standing in a place that once felt full. That's okay. The river may be gone, but your feet still know the path. And maybe one day, when the timing is right, the rain will return. A moment, a thought, a chance, and something inside you will bloom again, just for a while. Just long enough to remind you that even when things are lost, they're never fully gone. So now, as your eyes grow heavier, picture that silent valley, the dry river curving gently through the land, the stones still warm from the sun, the quiet all around, and let yourself rest there. Let the memory of water carry you, not fast, not loud, but steady, like breath, like thought, like sleep. Volcanic Ash Village. Imagine sitting down to breakfast, placing your cup on the table, and just as you take a breath, everything stops. Not in a slow fading way, but in an instant. The room freezes, the sky turns dark, and the next moment, your whole world is covered in ash, everything preserved exactly how it was, as if time took a deep breath and never exhaled. There are real places like that. Villages where people once laughed, cooked, worked, and dreamed. Now, sealed in silence under layers of ash. Homes still standing, bowls still full, footprints still visible in the dust. It's strange, isn't it? To think that something as soft and weightless as ash could carry the weight of memory so deeply. Have you ever walked into a room after someone has left and felt like they were still there? Maybe their sweater on a chair, their handwriting on a note. That's the feeling you get when you look at these ancient ash-covered homes. Even though the people are long gone, their presence lingers. Their ordinary moments, those quiet, unnoticed ones, have been held still by something as unexpected as falling ash. And what's even more mysterious is how peaceful everything looks, as if time wanted to preserve not the tragedy, but the stillness before it. A bed made neatly, a basket of fruit waiting to be eaten, a toy on the floor frozen mid-play. It's both heartbreaking and beautiful, like looking through a window into another life, one that paused in the middle of being lived. If you've ever taken a photograph of someone just before they left, before a breakup, or before moving away, you might understand. You didn't know it would be the last photo, but later it feels like it holds more than just an image. It holds a moment you can't get back. That's what these ash-covered homes feel like. Not dramatic, just paused. Volcanic ash is light and soft when it falls, but when it settles, it seals. It covers everything quickly, gently, and then hardens with time. It's like a sudden goodbye that turns into a permanent memory. Have you ever had one of those? A day that started normally and ended with everything changed? Scientists and visitors now walk through these villages quietly, as if not to disturb the peace. They wear careful shoes, take slow steps, and speak in whispers. Not because they have to, but because it feels right, as if you're walking through someone else's dream and you don't want to wake them. Some people say these places are eerie, others say they feel sacred, but almost everyone agrees they feel real. Not like ruins, not like history, but like time was gently folded and kept safe. Like if you sat down in one of the old chairs and listened long enough, you might hear the sound of a spoon in a bowl, a mother's voice, the soft hum of everyday life. Have you ever found something from your childhood, maybe in a drawer or a forgotten box, and felt like you were suddenly right back there? Just for a second you remember the room, the feeling, even the smell. That's the same strange connection these ash-covered places offer. They're not dramatic ruins. They're memories, held so gently that they still breathe. And it raises a strange question. What does it mean to be remembered? Most of the people from these villages weren't famous. They didn't leave behind books or paintings, just homes, tools, cups. Their lives were quiet like most of ours, and yet we still walk through their rooms still wondering what their lives felt like. They became part of the earth, but also part of our imagination. Sometimes we believe that only big actions matter. Big success, big failure. But these villages remind us that small, quiet moments are just as powerful. A shirt folded neatly, a meal halfway eaten, a door left slightly open. These little things say, I was here, I lived, I mattered. Even today, people live near volcanoes. Not because they want danger, but because the land is rich, the view is beautiful, and life feels grounded there, just like in relationships. We sometimes stay close to things that might break our hearts because the love we feel outweighs the risk. We choose to live fully, even near the edge. Some people look at these villages and see only loss, but others see something more tender, a gift of memory wrapped in ash, a message from the past whispering, "This is how life looked. Please don't forget." And maybe it's not about remembering the exact names or events, but just the feeling, the rhythm of daily life, of love and effort and home. Even machines can preserve data, but they can't feel the warmth of a home just by standing in it. That's something we can do. We walk into these places and feel empathy, curiosity, even sadness for people we never met. That's what makes us human. And maybe that's what these ash villages teach us, that everything we do, no matter how small, leaves a trace. That our lives, even the most ordinary ones, have shape and meaning. And even if we disappear one day, our story may still be there. In a bowl, a window, a quiet chair facing the light. So tonight, as you settle into rest, imagine one of those homes, still, peaceful, safe under layers of soft ash. The air is quiet, the light is gentle, and though time has passed, the moment still breathes. Let yourself drift into that calm. Let your own memories settle gently around you, not to hold you back, but to remind you that even in silence, your life matters. Every breath, every choice, every small moment you call yours. Submerged forest aisles. Have you ever seen a forest rise from the still waters of a lake, its ancient tree trunks reaching toward the sky like silent sentinels of a forgotten time? It might sound like something from a dream or a story, but it's a reality that exists in certain parts of the world. Imagine standing on the shore, watching as the eerie silhouettes of submerged trees pierce the surface of the water. each one holding secrets of the past. It's a haunting sight, yet strangely beautiful. The atmosphere is quiet, almost like the lake is holding its breath, and the only sound you hear is the soft ripple of water against bark. It's in moments like these that the mysteries of nature unfold, inviting us to ponder what we see and what lies beneath. Think about the world around you, the place you live, the things you see every day. It can be easy to take it all for granted. But what if I told you that beneath the calm, everyday world, there are places so mysterious that they seem to defy explanation? These submerged forests, sometimes known as forest isles, are one of those places. They're not like the forests we imagine when we think of trees and wildlife. These forests are buried beneath the water's surface, where the trunks of ancient trees have been preserved for centuries, perhaps even longer. People have always been curious about the hidden parts of our world, especially places like these. These submerged forests are often found in the deep parts of lakes, some of which were created by floods, damming, or other human activity. Over time, the water level rises, and what was once land is covered, submerging the trees and all that lay beneath. What's left are ghostly tree trunks, their roots tangled in the mud below, frozen in time. The water, which covers the forest, has preserved the trees, almost as if it's holding them in a gentle, watery embrace. In some places, the trees have been submerged for so long that they've taken on a dark, almost mystical appearance. But even though these trees are underwater, they haven't disappeared. Instead, they've become like ancient markers, silently standing in the lake, bearing witness to a time long past. There's something truly peaceful, even meditative, about watching these silent, submerged forests. The quiet and stillness they offer is unlike anything we experience in the bustling world around us. When you look at these forests, you can almost feel the weight of history pressing in. Every tree trunk, every branch that rises out of the water, is a living piece of the past, holding memories of the people, animals, and nature that once existed around it. Have you ever thought about how a forest can feel both alive and dead at the same time? It's strange, isn't it? These submerged forests are not dead, but they're not fully alive either. The trees are still standing, but they're no longer growing. They're preserved in a way that feels like time has stopped. It's like walking into a moment frozen forever, where everything is at rest, yet still present. It's this unique balance between life and death that gives submerged forests their mysterious allure. They remind us that nature isn't always as we expect it to be. Sometimes, it can be a place of quiet stillness, where time seems to stand still, waiting for us to notice it. When you think about it, the existence of submerged forests challenges our understanding of what it means for something to be alive or dead. We're used to seeing trees that grow, bloom, and eventually die. But these submerged trees have lived through something different. They've been submerged for years, decades, or even centuries, existing in a state of suspended animation. They may not be growing or changing in the traditional sense, but they are still there, preserved by the water that surrounds them. This raises a bigger question. How do we define life? Is it simply the ability to grow and change, or is there something more to it? Perhaps life, like these submerged forests, can exist in forms we don't yet fully understand. As we contemplate these quiet, submerged forests, we are reminded of how much of our world is hidden beneath the surface. Just as we might not always see the full picture of what's happening in the world around us, these submerged forests are a reminder that there's often more beneath the surface than meets the eye. The trunks of the trees may be the only thing visible above the water, but there's a whole world of history, of life, waiting to be discovered beneath the still waters. This quiet, hidden world calls to mind how we sometimes feel in our own lives. Just as these trees have been submerged, holding on to their secrets in the depths of the lake, we too sometimes hold on to parts of ourselves that are hidden away. There are moments in life when we feel like we're drifting, standing still, waiting for something to change, but we're not really growing. Maybe it's during a difficult time, or maybe it's just part of the natural ebb and flow of life. Like the trees, we may feel stuck, suspended in time, with nothing around us but stillness. But just as these trees stand tall and endure, so can we. Even in the quietest, stillest moments of life, we are still present, still holding on to what makes us who we are. If you've ever visited a place like this, you might have felt something similar. The air is different there, heavy with the weight of the past. And in those moments, as you stand by the water, it's as though the trees are speaking to you. They remind us that time is both a gift and a mystery. It moves in ways we can't always predict, sometimes rushing ahead, sometimes holding us in place. And like the trees, we may not always see the progress we're making, but we're always changing, always adapting to the world around us. These submerged forests are a beautiful reminder that there is more to the world than what we can see with our eyes. They show us that life isn't always linear or straightforward. Sometimes we are like those trees, holding on to the past, standing still in the face of time. And yet, even in our stillness, we are part of something much bigger. We are connected to the world in ways we don't always understand. And perhaps that's the most mysterious part of all. I'd love to hear what you think. Have you ever seen anything like this? Perhaps you've come across a place in nature that made you stop and wonder. Or maybe you've felt like one of these trees, suspended in time, waiting for something to change. If you have, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Let's connect over these mysterious and beautiful aspects of our world and explore the things that keep us in awe of nature. Granite carved faces. Imagine standing before a towering mountain, its surface smooth yet scarred by time, and as you gaze up, you notice something truly extraordinary. Embedded into the rock, almost as if watching over the world, are faces, large, grand, and unmistakable. These faces have been carved into the very stone itself, their features eroded but still holding a quiet, powerful presence. It's as though the mountain holds the memories of ancient figures, their gazes fixed, never faltering, even as the world around them changes. The idea of faces carved into granite may seem strange, even surreal, yet it's a reality that exists in many places around the world. These mountain-scale portraits are not just artwork. They are symbols of endurance, mystery, and time itself. Have you ever looked at a mountain and felt like it was more than just a pile of rock? Something about its scale, its strength, and its silence can make it feel alive, like it's holding something deep within. And when you add carved faces into the equation, it's as if that mountain is speaking, telling a story that stretches back across centuries, if not millennia. It might make you wonder, who created these faces? Why were they carved into such a permanent, unyielding surface? And why, despite centuries of erosion and weathering, do they still seem to watch over us? As though they've never left, we live in a world that is constantly changing, shifting, and evolving. Our surroundings, nature, technology, relationships are all in a state of flux. But these granite faces, weathered by the elements, remain, enduring the passage of time. They stand as silent witnesses to the world's transformations, their expressions frozen in time yet seemingly full of life. In a way, they are paradoxical. Though they are part of the earth in a sense, they are above it. They were created by human hands, yet they belong to the natural world. And as they endure, they invite us to reflect on the nature of time, change, and memory. The erosion of these granite faces is one of the most intriguing aspects of their existence. As rain, wind, and sunlight wear away at the stone, the faces become more and more abstract. What was once a clear, sharp portrait begins to soften, to fade, and to merge with the rock around it. It's like a slow, quiet transformation, where the face becomes a part of the mountain itself. Yet, despite this erosion, something remains. The outline of the face, the hollow of an eye, the curve of a smile. These features may blur, but they don't disappear. They continue to watch, to observe, to remind us of their presence. It's as if time itself can't erase their story. This phenomenon can feel familiar. Think about your own life. There are moments, faces, and memories that seem to remain with you no matter how much time passes. Some experiences, no matter how distant, are never truly forgotten. They may fade, they may become less sharp, but they leave an imprint. These granite faces, slowly eroded by time, are like those memories, blurring and changing, but still present, still watching. They remind us that some things, even in their quietest moments, endure through time. And maybe, just maybe, they are trying to teach us something about resilience and permanence in a world that is always shifting. When we look at these faces, it's easy to think about the cultures and people who created them. Perhaps they were made to honor great leaders, gods, or ancestors. Maybe they were meant to represent important figures, immortalized for their wisdom, strength, or vision. Over time, though, the original intent of these faces might be lost to history. The stories behind them can fade, just as the features of the faces begin to blur. But still, we look at them, and we feel something. We sense that they hold meaning, that they are more than just carvings in stone. They connect us to a past we can't fully access, but that we can still feel. In a way, these granite faces challenge our ideas about history and memory. We tend to think of the past as something fixed, something written down and neatly recorded. But these carved faces suggest that memory is more fluid, more dynamic. It's not just about recording events, it's about creating symbols that endure, that speak across time. The faces carved into the mountain don't need words. They communicate something deeper, something universal that can transcend the specifics of any culture or era. And in that sense, they remind us that meaning isn't always in the details. Sometimes it's in the presence, the silence, the gaze that remains after everything else has faded away. As you think about these carved faces, you might start to realize that they are not just about the past. They also speak to the present, and even to the future. The mountain, with its granite portraits, is a quiet witness to the world that continues to unfold. The faces seem to remind us that we are part of something much larger, that we are not the first to walk this earth and we will not be the last. The passage of time, the erosion of the faces, and the ongoing changes in the landscape are all part of a cycle that we are a part of, too. In a way, these granite faces represent the human experience. We all leave marks, even if they're not always visible. We all face the erosion of time in different ways. Some things we create may last for generations, while others may fade away. Yet, like these mountain-scale portraits, something of us remains, our influence, our memories, our impact. We might not see it, and others may forget us, but just as the faces carved in granite continue to watch over the land, so too do the echoes of our lives endure in ways we may never fully understand. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about these granite faces is the way they invite us to slow down, to look more closely, and to think deeply. In a world where everything moves quickly, where change is constant and sometimes overwhelming, these stone faces offer a moment of pause. They remind us to take a breath, to appreciate the stillness, and to reflect on the passage of time. Just as these faces endure the elements, we too must learn to endure the changes in our own lives, finding ways to remain present, to hold our ground, and to leave a mark that will last beyond our time. If you've ever stood before one of these mountain portraits, you might have felt the same quiet awe that I've felt. There's something about the stillness, the power, and the mystery of these granite faces that stays with you long after you leave. Perhaps it's the way they seem to watch over us, or perhaps it's the reminder they give us that no matter how much time passes, something of us can remain, watching, waiting, enduring. Have you ever encountered a place like this where history and time seem to come alive? If so, I'd love to hear about your experience. Let's share and connect over the quiet mysteries of our world, where faces, memories, and time itself leave their mark. Salt-sealed tombs. Imagine uncovering a hidden tomb deep within the earth, only to find it encased in layers of crystalline salt. At first glance, it might seem impossible. How could something so delicate, yet so ancient, be preserved in something as seemingly harsh as salt? The truth is, there are burial chambers around the world that have been sealed away by this very substance, preserved for centuries, even millennia. The salt works as a natural preservative. preserving everything within it, from the bones of the departed to the very structure of the tomb itself. It's as though the salt acts as both protector and keeper, a silent witness to time passing, slowly, quietly, and with great care. Have you ever thought about how our bodies and belongings will be remembered after we're gone? We leave behind traces of ourselves in many ways: photos, memories, even the things we own. But what about those who lived long before us, whose stories are hidden beneath layers of earth? The salt-sealed tombs are like a snapshot of a distant past, frozen in time and preserved by nature's own hand. When you think of tombs, you might picture stone or wood, or maybe even marble. But salt? That's a substance most often associated with flavoring food or keeping things fresh. Yet, in these ancient burial chambers, it does something far more remarkable. It keeps the past alive. What's fascinating about salt-sealed tombs is not just how they preserve the physical remains, but the mystery of how they've managed to survive for so long. Salt is a powerful force in nature. It has the ability to absorb moisture, preventing decay, and it can form protective layers that keep what's inside safe from the ravages of time. In many ways, the tombs are like forgotten time capsules, waiting to be discovered. They hold the promise of connecting us to an era long gone, yet still so tangible and real. Think about how we preserve things in our everyday lives. We keep old letters, photographs, or even childhood keepsakes in boxes or albums, hoping that one day they will serve as a bridge to the past. These salt-sealed tombs are like nature's version of that, preserving moments in time, only on a much grander and more mysterious scale. It's almost as if the salt has a purpose beyond just preserving. It has a role in telling a story, one that is not just about the people buried within, but about the very nature of time itself. When we look at these tombs, we are reminded of the paradox of time, how it moves forward relentlessly, yet there are places like these salt-preserved chambers where time seems to stand still. In the world around us, change is constant. We watch the seasons shift, our lives evolve, and the world transforms. But there are moments, like those found in the salt-sealed tombs, where everything feels frozen. The bodies may have been placed in these tombs centuries ago, but they remain, untouched and preserved, as though the salt is holding them in a moment that will never end. It's a reminder of how fleeting our own time is, and how the things we leave behind may have a much longer life than we realize. In our daily lives, we often think about what we leave behind. We wonder what our legacy will be, how people will remember us. We live in a world where everything seems temporary, where we're constantly moving forward, whether it's school, work, or relationships. But there's something about these tombs, preserved in salt, that makes you think differently. It makes you realize that maybe, in the end, it's not the grand gestures or the material possessions that leave a lasting impression. It's the quiet moments, the small actions, the things we do that others don't always notice. Just as salt preserves the bones of those long gone, so too do our actions create ripples in time, even when we don't realize it. These salt-sealed tombs also speak to the way we understand history. We often think of the past as something distant, something separate from our lives today. But when we come across a preserved tomb, whether it's in salt or any other form, we're reminded that the past is not as far away as we might think. It's right here, beneath our feet, buried in the earth, waiting to be discovered. The salt acts as a bridge, linking us to the lives of people who walked the earth long before us. And in a way, the salt is not just preserving their remains, it's preserving their story, their place in time. It's as if they've been waiting all this time for us to find them, to remember them, and to tell their stories once more. There's also something deeply humbling about the idea of a salt-sealed tomb. In a world where we often focus on our own lives, on the here and now, it's easy to forget that we are just one small part of a much larger picture. The tombs, preserved by the salt, are a reminder that we are part of a much longer timeline, one that stretches far beyond our individual lifetimes. It's a reminder that we are not the only ones who will leave behind a legacy, and that the things we do today will ripple out into the future, just as the actions of those who came before us have rippled into our present. These tombs also challenge the way we think about death and what comes after. When we think of death, we often think of endings, the end of a life, the end of a story. But the salt-sealed tombs tell us something different. They show us that death is not always an end. Sometimes it's a transition into something new. The salt doesn't stop time, it preserves it, keeping it in a suspended state. The people buried in these tombs are no longer alive, but they are not completely gone either. They are preserved, watching us, waiting to be remembered. Perhaps death, like the salt, is not so much a finality, but a way of holding on to the things we hold dear, even after we're gone. Have you ever visited a place that felt timeless? Maybe a historical site, a quiet cemetery, or even a peaceful spot in nature? There's something about these places that makes you feel like you've stepped out of the normal flow of time. It's as though, for a moment, the world slows down, and you are able to connect with something greater than yourself. The salt-sealed tombs do that too. They make us think about time differently, about life and death in a new way, and about how we are all connected across generations, even when we don't realize it. If you've had a chance to see or hear about these salt-preserved tombs, I'd love to hear what you think. How do you view the way time passes, and how do you imagine it will be remembered? Perhaps you've felt a connection to the past, or maybe you've wondered about your own legacy. Let's share our thoughts, connect, and think about the way the world preserves what's important, whether it's through salt, memory, or the simple acts we leave behind. Sunken gold vaults. Imagine for a moment that somewhere beneath the sand, hidden deep and out of sight, lies an untouched treasure. But not just any treasure. We're talking about an entire vault filled with gold, jewels, and riches that were once the pride of kings and empires. Over time, however, the desert winds have shifted the sands, swallowing these treasures whole, leaving them lost, buried, and forgotten. These sunken gold vaults are the stuff of legend, whispered about for centuries. Yet, despite the mystery and allure, they remain elusive, as if nature itself is guarding them, refusing to give up its secrets. You may be familiar with the feeling of searching for something you truly value, whether it's a lost item or a long-forgotten dream. It's frustrating when what you want most feels just beyond reach, hidden somewhere you can't quite find. In some ways, these sunken gold vaults reflect that feeling. They represent a kind of treasure that can never truly be ours, no matter how much we search for it. The idea of treasure beneath the sand evokes a deep, almost universal longing, wanting to find something precious, something meaningful that seems out of reach, yet always draws us closer with every passing day. The idea of buried treasure isn't new. It's been around for as long as people have dreamt of wealth and glory. But the mystery of sunken gold vaults takes it to another level. These are not just treasures lost to time, they are treasures swallowed by nature itself. The sands of the desert, which are constantly shifting and moving, create a kind of natural tomb for these valuable items. The gold, once gleaming and visible, is now concealed beneath layers of dust and sand. As if nature is playing a game with humanity, the vaults are still there, yet they remain out of our reach. It's a paradox, isn't it? The treasure is so close, but at the same time it feels like it will never be found. What is it about treasure that captivates us? It's not just about the gold or the jewels. It's the idea of discovery, of uncovering something hidden, of unwrapping, a mystery that has remained unsolved for centuries. There's a feeling of accomplishment that comes with finding something valuable, something that has been kept secret for so long. But with sunken gold vaults, there's a twist to this story. The treasure is there, waiting, but the journey to find it is full of obstacles. Shifting sands, the passage of time, and the constant reminder that sometimes, no matter how hard we try, some things remain out of reach. In many ways, the sunken gold vaults are like our own personal dreams and aspirations. We all have things we long for, whether it's success, happiness, or a sense of fulfillment. But just like these vaults, Sometimes our goals feel hidden beneath the shifting sands of doubt, fear, and uncertainty. The harder we search, the more it seems like they slip further away. And yet, there's something about the quest itself that keeps us moving forward. We keep digging, keep seeking, even though the treasure may never be fully in our grasp. There's a kind of beauty in that struggle, the idea that the journey itself holds meaning, even if we never reach the exact destination we envisioned. The sunken vaults, with their promise of hidden riches, also remind us of the passage of time. Centuries have passed, yet the gold remains. The sands continue to shift, yet the treasure is still there, buried but not forgotten. It's as though time has no power over the vaults. They remain, untouched and preserved by the sands of history. There's something calming about that idea. In a world that moves so fast, where everything seems to be constantly changing, the vaults offer a stillness, a quiet reminder that some things, however elusive, remain constant. They've been waiting, patiently, and they will continue to wait until the time is right for someone to uncover them. In our own lives, we often find ourselves in similar situations. We may feel that our hopes and dreams are buried beneath layers of doubt, worry, or circumstance. But like the gold beneath the sand, they are still there, waiting for the right moment to shine through. The process of searching, of digging through the layers of life, is one of discovery. And perhaps, as with the vaults, it's not about the treasure at the end of the journey, but the lessons we learn along the way. The idea of sunken gold vaults also touches on a deeper theme of belief and mystery. There's something almost magical about the idea that treasure, so valuable and coveted, could be hidden away by something as simple as sand. It forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge, to accept that there are things beyond our understanding. It's the same with belief. Sometimes we search for answers, for truths, that seem to slip further and further away as we dig deeper. But the act of searching, of seeking, is what gives us purpose. The vaults, buried and waiting, remind us that not everything is meant to be discovered immediately. Some things take time. Some things require patience and perseverance. Think of all the things in your own life that you've searched for, whether it's understanding yourself better, finding love, or pursuing a passion. It's easy to become discouraged when the things we desire feel just beyond our reach. But, much like the sunken gold vaults, sometimes the most valuable things take time to uncover. Sometimes they remain hidden, not because they are gone, but because they need to be uncovered in their own time, at the right moment. There's also something humbling about the idea of sunken gold vaults. We often think of treasure as something that is ours for the taking, something we can claim if we work hard enough. But the treasure beneath the sands challenges that notion. It reminds us that sometimes the most precious things are out of our control. They are hidden from us, and we must wait for the right conditions to uncover them. It's a reminder that not everything in life can be grasped immediately. Some treasures, whether material or emotional, are meant to be discovered slowly over time, with patience and care. If you've ever found yourself chasing a dream that feels just out of reach, or longing for something that seems hidden beneath the surface, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What treasures have you been seeking, and how have you navigated the sands of uncertainty along the way? Let's connect, share our experiences, and reflect on the mysteries of life and the treasures that are waiting for us to uncover when the time is right. Jade-lined chambers. Imagine stepping into a hidden space, a secret room, with walls that sparkle faintly, not with the glint of gold or silver, but with the soft glow of green stone. The walls are inlaid with jade, a stone that has long been cherished for its beauty and mystery. It's a calm, serene place, almost otherworldly. The jade gleams quietly in the dim light, casting shadows that dance slowly across the stone. Everything about the space feels ancient, yet timeless, as if it has been waiting for someone to discover it. It's not a treasure chest filled with riches, but something more subtle, more profound. The jade-lined chambers invite us to reflect on something deeper than just material wealth. They offer a glimpse into a world where beauty and meaning are intertwined, a space where the past and present meet in a quiet embrace. Have you ever experienced a moment when something small, simple, or quiet made you pause and reflect? Maybe it was a flower in bloom, or a simple gesture from someone you care about. Sometimes the smallest things have the greatest impact. This is what the jade-lined chambers evoke, a kind of beauty that's not loud or showy, but soft and lasting. It's the kind of beauty that doesn't need to shout to be noticed. The walls, in their quiet elegance, invite us to pause, to look more closely at the things around us, and to appreciate the quiet wonders that we often overlook in the rush of everyday life. The idea of jade, in particular, adds a layer of mystery to the space. Jade is not just a precious stone, it's a symbol of many things: wisdom, purity, and balance. In many cultures, jade has been used for thousands of years, not only for its beauty, but for its believed healing properties. It's as if the stone itself holds stories, energy, and significance that go beyond its appearance. When you step into a room lined with jade, you can't help but feel that the space holds a history, a depth that stretches far beyond the walls you can see. The faint gleam of the stone invites a quiet reverence, as if you're standing in the presence of something sacred, something that carries the weight of time itself. In our own lives, we sometimes find ourselves searching for that same sense of depth and meaning. We often look for it in grand gestures or big accomplishments, but sometimes the most meaningful experiences are the quiet ones. It's the small moments, the soft exchanges, and the simple acts of kindness that bring us closer to understanding who we are and what matters most. Much like the jade-lined chambers, these moments might not be flashy or obvious, but they leave a lasting impact on our hearts and minds. And just as the jade reflects light in the chambers, these small moments reflect light in our lives, illuminating the path to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. The chambers, with their soft glow and quiet beauty, also make us think about the nature of time. The jade is not a new stone, it has been around for centuries, treasured by people across the world for its strength and elegance. It has witnessed the passage of time, seen the rise and fall of civilizations, and yet it remains unchanged, steadfast in its beauty. There's something calming about that idea, isn't there? In a world where everything seems to be constantly changing, the jade-lined chambers are a reminder that some things endure. The stone has withstood the test of time, and in doing so, it has become something more than just a material object. It has become a symbol of stability, of something lasting and enduring. We all experience change in our lives. Some changes are exciting, others can be difficult or even painful, but through it all, we often find that the things that matter most to us remain constant. Our values, our relationships, and our inner peace are like the jade in those chambers, quiet, enduring, and resilient. They provide us with a sense of stability in the face of life's storms. Even when everything around us feels uncertain, there are things we can hold on to that remind us who we are and what we stand for. Like the jade-lined chambers, they are a source of quiet strength. Think about it. Have you ever faced a difficult moment or a challenge that seemed overwhelming at first, only to find that the things you valued most were the ones that helped you through it? It's as if, in those moments, the things that matter most, like love, kindness, or hope, shine through the darkness. Just like the jade that reflects light in those chambers, these values illuminate the path forward, helping us find our way, even when the world around us seems uncertain. The jade-lined chambers also remind us of the power of stillness. The chambers are quiet, their beauty subtle but powerful. In the fast-paced world we live in, it's easy to forget the importance of stillness, of taking a moment to pause and reflect. But the chambers, with their calm presence, encourage us to slow down, to breathe, and to reconnect with the quiet parts of ourselves. We often rush through life, caught up in the hustle and bustle of everyday tasks and responsibilities. But, just like the jade, which glows softly in the quiet of the chamber, There's a quiet strength in stillness. It's in those moments of calm that we can truly hear ourselves, reflect on our experiences, and find clarity. In many ways, the jade-lined chambers can also be seen as a metaphor for our own personal growth. The jade doesn't change, yet, over time, it collects stories, memories, and meaning. It's the same with us. As we move through life, we experience challenges and triumphs, losses and gains. Yet, we remain, like the jade, holding the quiet strength of everything we've been through. Our experiences shape us just as the jade has been shaped by time. And like the chambers themselves, we become something greater than just the sum of our parts. We become more than just the moments we've lived through. We become the wisdom and strength that those moments have given us. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever experienced a quiet moment of beauty that made you pause and reflect? Do you have places in your life that offer you peace and stillness, like the jade-lined chambers that help you reconnect with yourself and the world around you? Let's share our experiences and reflections with one another. After all, in these moments, we find the true treasures of life, hidden in plain sight, glowing softly like the jade that waits patiently in the chambers, inviting us to pause and appreciate the beauty that surrounds us. Corroded metal gates. Have you ever come across a gate, perhaps in an old forgotten place that's so rusted, so worn down, that it seems impossible to open? The iron is covered in a layer of corroded metal, thick and jagged, each rusted edge, telling a story of time, weather, and neglect. These gates don't just block access. They seem to guard something hidden and mysterious. The iron stands stubbornly, no longer shining with strength, but slowly crumbling, as though it is determined to keep whatever lies beyond it a secret. It's almost as if the gate itself is guarding something more than just a physical space. It's guarding a realm of the unknown, something that can't be easily understood or reached. The rust, the decay, the silence, everything about it makes you wonder, what could be behind such a gate? Maybe you've felt a sense of curiosity or even unease when you've stumbled across something old, forgotten, and abandoned. It's like the world itself is trying to keep something hidden from view, and the gate is there, standing in defiance, refusing to let us through. This feeling is something we all can relate to. Whether it's a closed door in our homes, a moment in our lives that we've locked away, or even secrets that others may keep from us, we all have experiences where access to something unknown feels blocked, even if we're unsure of what we're trying to find. The metal gate, rusted and locked, is not just a physical barrier, it's a reflection of how we often protect parts of ourselves, sometimes without even realizing it. When you think about these corroded gates, they can serve as a powerful reminder of the barriers we put in place in our own lives. It's easy to think of them in a literal sense, maybe an old fence or a gate that's been there for decades, but they also have a metaphorical meaning. Many of us keep gates around parts of our hearts or minds, areas that are hidden away from the outside world. We do this for many reasons, perhaps to protect ourselves from pain or loss, or maybe to keep certain emotions locked away because we're afraid of what they might bring. Like the rusted gates, we sometimes grow comfortable with these barriers, even though they prevent us from experiencing something deeper. They keep us safe, yes, but they also keep us distant from the things we may need to face, understand, and grow from. We've all heard stories about people who overcome their own gates, whether it's a challenge they face in life or a struggle that they've kept hidden for a long time. It's a beautiful thing to watch someone find the courage to open those gates and confront the unknown, and it often leads to personal growth and transformation. But it's not always easy. Just like the corroded gates, the things we keep hidden behind our own walls can seem difficult to access. The rust, the wear and tear, the resistance, it all makes the idea of opening up feel like an impossible task. But when we take that step, when we push against the barriers we've created, we often find something unexpected, something that helps us grow and move forward. Think of those moments in life when you faced a challenge, whether it was a personal struggle or a difficult decision, and you felt like you were standing before a gate. Perhaps it was a fear you had to overcome or a relationship that required healing. Just like those gates, the challenge may have felt overwhelming. At first, like an insurmountable obstacle that couldn't be crossed. But when you finally took the step forward, even if it was small, something shifted. The rusted edges of your fear, your doubt, or your pain began to loosen, and you found that the gate wasn't as strong as it appeared. It wasn't an impenetrable wall, but a door waiting to be opened. In many ways, these corroded gates also symbolize the way time changes us and the things we sometimes leave behind. Over time, the metal rusts, the surface deteriorates, and the strength of the iron weakens. Yet, even in that decay, there's still something there, a presence that hasn't entirely disappeared. The gate is not gone, it's just changed. It reminds us that even when things seem broken or lost, there is still value in them. Just like the gate, our lives are often marked by changes that feel difficult or painful. But those experiences, those moments of corrosion and decay, also leave behind wisdom, strength, and character. We may not always be able to see it immediately, but just like the gate, we too carry the marks of everything we've lived through. Have you ever experienced something that felt like it had rusted shut? A moment in time when you felt blocked or stuck, unsure of how to move forward? These are the moments when the metaphor of the gate becomes so relatable. When things feel closed off, like a heavy door we can't open, it can be easy to give up. But just like the corroded gates, these moments of stagnation don't last forever. With time, with care, and with patience, the barriers we face can loosen, just as rust eventually fades with the right touch. The idea of corroded metal gates guarding unknown realms also brings up the question of what lies beyond them. What could be waiting for us in those realms, and why does it seem so difficult to reach? Sometimes we encounter these moments in life where it feels as though something is being held back from us. Whether it's a dream we have yet to achieve, a relationship that hasn't yet fully blossomed, or a part of ourselves we've yet to discover. These gates remind us that there's always something more, something unknown, just on the other side. And often, it takes time, effort, and sometimes even a little rust to push through and discover it. It's also worth considering how often we find ourselves at these gates in our own lives. We all have experiences of waiting, wondering, and sometimes even fearing the unknown. But perhaps the greatest lesson in these corroded gates is that they are not permanent. Just as metal can be rusted but eventually restored, so too can our own struggles and barriers be healed with patience, understanding, and time. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever come across something in your life that felt like a rusted locked gate, something you thought you'd never be able to reach or understand? How did you handle it? Let's share our stories and thoughts, as we all encounter these gates in our lives, and in sharing, we might find new ways to open them together. Just like those old iron portals, we can slowly and steadily break through the rust, revealing what's waiting beyond. Echoing stone theaters. Imagine stepping into a place once alive with voices, a grand theater carved from stone, designed to carry the sound of laughter, music, and passionate speech to thousands of people. You walk through the arches, your footsteps echoing against the walls, but there's no voice now. The seats are empty, the stage is still, and the sounds that once filled the air have long since faded into silence. These ancient theaters, once the center of gatherings, now stand as quiet monuments to times long gone. It's a strange feeling, being in a space where so much history has passed, where every stone, every crack in the wall must hold memories of moments that were once so alive. Have you ever experienced this kind of silence in a place that was meant for sound? Maybe you visited an old theater or auditorium, or perhaps you've wandered into an empty room that was once full of life. The emptiness feels heavy, almost as if the voices and laughter are still there, lingering in the air. It's both peaceful and a little eerie, like the walls themselves remember the echoes, but no one is there to hear them. It makes you wonder, what happened to all those voices? What happened to the energy, the excitement, the stories that once filled this space? These stone theaters are more than just buildings, They represent a paradox. They are places where life once flourished, where people gathered to witness performances, hear speeches, or enjoy music together. But now, those voices are gone, and all that remains are the echoes. It's a quiet reminder that even the most vibrant, lively moments can fade away over time, leaving behind only memories. And yet, those memories can still be felt in the air, like an invisible presence, reminding us of what once was. Think about your own life. How often do we find ourselves in moments that are full of energy and excitement, only to have them fade away into silence later? Maybe you've had moments where you were surrounded by friends, laughing and sharing stories, but then, just like that, the moment passes, and it feels as if the noise and joy have disappeared. In those quiet moments, when everything settles down, we can't help but wonder where all the energy went. But just like those echoing stone theaters, even the moments that seem lost are still with us. The laughter, the music, the feelings, they may be gone, but they haven't disappeared completely. They linger in our memories, in the spaces between, the silence, waiting to be remembered. It's interesting how these stone theaters show us something about the passage of time. When they were first built, they were designed to last, to stand through the centuries, witnessing generations come and go. The builders intended for them to be places where voices would always be heard, where people could gather, connect, and share experiences. And yet, over time, those voices faded, just as everything eventually does. This idea of something once full of life becoming quiet over time is something we can all relate to, whether it's a relationship that has changed, a place that has been abandoned, or a memory that has grown distant. There's a sense that nothing stays the same forever. But that doesn't mean it's lost, just like the echoes in those stone theaters. The moments that have passed are still there, quietly reverberating through time. In many ways, these echoing stone theaters are a reflection of our own lives. We all have times when we feel like we're in the spotlight, surrounded by people, our voices rising with the crowd. And then there are times when we find ourselves alone, the noise and excitement of the world slipping away. But the silence isn't empty. It's filled with the echoes of everything that's come before. The love, the struggles, the moments of joy and pain. They all leave an imprint, a quiet reminder that life is full of change, but also full of meaning. Think of a time when you've gone through something difficult, maybe a loss or a big change. In those moments, it can feel like everything has gone silent, like the world is holding its breath, waiting for something. But in the quiet, you can still hear the echoes of the past. They remind you of who you are, where you've been, and the strength you've gained along the way. Just like those stone theaters, your life is full of stories and experiences, some of which you may have forgotten or pushed aside, but they're still there, lingering in the background, waiting for you to listen. In a way, these theaters also show us how we are all connected. When people gathered in these spaces, they shared experiences, laughter, sorrow, celebration, all in the same place. There was something powerful about being part of a crowd, hearing voices rise together, feeling the energy of a shared moment. Now, when we look at these empty spaces, it's a reminder of how we, too, are part of something larger. Even in the quiet, we are connected to those who have come before us, to the stories they told, and to the experiences they shared. We may not hear their voices in the same way, but we can still feel their presence in the echoes. This idea of silence and echoes is something that extends beyond physical spaces. In our own lives, we often go through periods of silence, times when we feel disconnected or alone. But even in those times, there's something waiting to be heard. There are the echoes of our past, the lessons we've learned, and the people who have shaped us. Just like the stone theaters, we are never truly empty. We carry with us the voices of the past, whether we realize it or not. As you reflect on these stone theaters, I invite you to think about the moments in your life when you felt that sense of silence. Have you ever experienced a time when everything seemed to fade away and you were left standing in an empty space? What did you learn from those moments? Were the echoes of the past louder than the silence? Or did they help you find a way forward? These quiet, empty theaters are a beautiful reminder that even in silence there is meaning. The voices may no longer fill the air, but the echoes still exist, reverberating through the stone, through time, and through our own lives. So, the next time you find yourself in a moment of quiet, remember that you're not truly alone. The echoes of your experiences, your memories, and the people who have touched your life are always with you. They're just waiting to be heard again. Buried sky observatories. Imagine looking up at the stars, feeling small yet somehow safe under the vast night sky. Now picture that same moment, but hidden beneath layers of earth. A star-watching platform, once used to study the heavens. Now, completely buried and forgotten. It's strange to think that something meant for looking outward and upward has been sealed under soil and stone. The idea itself feels like a paradox, a space built for wonder, now silent in the dark. And yet, even without anyone watching, the stars above continue to shine, and the observatory below continues to exist, waiting to be seen again. Have you ever had a moment where something you once loved was slowly forgotten? Not because it didn't matter, but because life just moved on? Maybe it was a hobby you were passionate about, a dream you had when you were younger, or even a friendship that drifted with time. Like a buried observatory, the meaning was still there, just hidden under the dust of everyday life. If you're willing to pause and look a little deeper, sometimes you can still feel it, glowing softly beneath the surface, reminding you of who you were and what once made you feel alive. Buried observatories are real places, built long ago by people who looked at the sky not just for beauty, but for meaning. These people carefully aligned stones with stars, tracking movements of the sun and moon to understand time, change, and even their own purpose. These platforms were built with care, often at high points where the sky felt closer. Over time, as civilizations changed and landscapes shifted, many of these observatories were covered by earth, by dust storms, by new buildings, or simply by time. Now, they sit hidden underground, while above them life goes on, unaware of the wisdom lying just beneath our feet. This can feel a lot like the human experience. We build dreams, moments, relationships, structures that once gave us purpose and perspective, and then, without noticing, we cover them up. Exams pile on. Work becomes routine. The weather changes, and so do we. We lose touch with the moments when we used to feel most connected to something larger than ourselves. And yet, just like those ancient platforms, the foundation is still there. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's just quiet now, waiting to be uncovered again. There's something deeply calming about the idea that the things we once loved never truly leave us, even if they're buried, even if we forget. The observatories under the earth still face the sky, still aligned to something far beyond human life. In the same way, our inner compass, the part of us that seeks meaning, joy, or connection, remains. It may be quiet, it may be hidden, but it doesn't disappear. Think back to when you were younger. Did you ever lie on your back and just look at the stars, even for a few minutes? It didn't matter if you understood what the stars were or how far away they stretched. The important part was the feeling, that quiet sense of being part of something bigger. That moment didn't need words or answers. It just needed stillness. Now imagine building a space, carefully and thoughtfully, just for that feeling, a place where generations could come to pause, look up, and wonder together. That's what these observatories were. They weren't just for science, they were for the soul. Over time, of course, new needs appeared. New buildings were built, roads were paved. The sky grew more crowded with lights, and people stopped needing to watch the stars in the same way. But that doesn't mean we've stopped looking for meaning. It just means we look in different places now. In books, in relationships, even on digital screens. But just like the buried observatories, our connection to the bigger picture can get lost beneath the surface. And yet, something within us still longs to look up, even when we're looking down. This quiet paradox of sky-watching places buried in the earth also touches something deeper. It reminds us of how belief and wonder can fade, but not vanish. Language changes, ideas shift, new generations rise. But the need to feel small, to feel awe, to look at something greater than ourselves, that stays. It hides under new words, new tools, new routines. But it stays. Maybe you've had a time when you suddenly felt a sense of wonder you hadn't felt in years, a walk under the stars. A random memory that hit you in the middle of the night. A moment of silence that felt strangely full. That's the observatory within you, the part that hasn't forgotten how to look up, even if it's been buried for a long time. In mental health, this buried observatory can be a helpful image too. Sometimes when we're going through difficult times, it feels like everything that once gave us peace is gone. But often, it's just hidden, covered by stress, fear, or sadness. The ability to see clearly, to feel connected to something bigger, is still there. We just need to dig a little, to be gentle with ourselves, to sit in silence and wait for the stars to return. Even in the world of technology and AI, this paradox has meaning. We've created machines that can map the sky more precisely than ever before, telescopes that float in space, satellites that orbit the Earth. And yet, there's still something irreplaceable about standing on the ground, beneath the open sky, and looking up with your own eyes. No machine can fully replace that feeling. The buried observatories remind us that some of the most powerful experiences come not from progress, but from presence. So maybe it's time we start uncovering our own observatories, not with shovels or maps, but with moments. Small, quiet moments where we stop what we're doing and look up, or look in. Maybe it's stepping outside for a few minutes at night. Maybe it's remembering an old dream or talking to someone you haven't spoken to in years. Maybe it's just breathing deeply and realizing that you're still here, still part of something mysterious and beautiful. Have you ever found something meaningful that you thought you had lost? A part of yourself, an old idea, a connection? If so, you understand what it's like to uncover a buried observatory. If not, perhaps the idea feels like an invitation to pause, to listen, to wonder again. Because even though the earth may cover the stones and time may bury what was once clear, the sky is still above us. The stars are still shining, and somewhere, beneath the surface, the old places of wonder are still waiting, not lost, just quiet, ready to remind us of what we used to know, ready to help us remember how to look up. Lost spice markets. Imagine walking through a place filled with colors, scents, and voices, all blending together like a dream. You hear laughter, you smell warm cinnamon, sharp pepper, soft rose, and cool mint, all in the air at once. Your hands brush against silk fabrics and small wooden bowls filled with powders so rich and golden they seem to glow. Now imagine all of that gone, not slowly, but swallowed up by the desert in silence. A breeze of sand moves through where life once danced. The voices are quiet now. The colors are faded. The market is lost. Have you ever visited a place that felt alive, only to return years later and find it gone or changed? Maybe it was a small shop that closed down, a park where no one plays anymore, a street that used to be filled with noise but now sits still. Places hold memory, just like people do. And sometimes, even when the world forgets them, something about their presence remains. Lost spice markets are one of those memories, frozen in time, buried in sand, and yet somehow still breathing under the surface. In many ancient towns, spice markets were more than just places to buy things. They were places to meet, to tell stories, to exchange not only goods, but also ideas. The spices came from faraway lands, carried by camels, ships, or people walking for days under the sun. When someone brought a bag of cardamom or saffron, they were also bringing news of other cities, other lives, other dreams. These markets weren't just full of flavor, they were full of connection. Now imagine what it means for all of that to be covered in sand, not by accident, but over time, little by little. Wind carries dust, storms roll through, a stall breaks down, a roof collapses. The people leave, and the desert enters. It feels like a story from a dream, a world so rich in life simply disappearing. No big announcement, just quiet, soft loss. Sometimes our own lives feel like that. We hold memories that once meant everything to us, places, relationships, routines. But slowly, the winds of change pass through. Exams are coming. Jobs take over. Distance grows between people. We don't mean to forget, but the days move quickly. And just like that, a piece of us feels buried, covered up by layers of time. But here's the strange thing about loss. It doesn't always mean something is gone forever. Just because a spice market is hidden doesn't mean the scent of the spices is gone. The memory is still in the air. The soul of the place still lingers. You just have to stop and notice it. Sometimes it's as simple as a smell that reminds you of something you forgot, or a song, or a moment of stillness that opens a door you didn't realize was closed. Have you ever opened a drawer and found something small from years ago? A letter, a photo, a dried flower. And suddenly, a whole time in your life comes rushing back. That's what these buried markets are like. They are reminders that beauty and meaning don't disappear. They just wait quietly to be remembered. The lost spice markets also show us how deeply tied we are to the senses. Sight, smell, touch. These are not just tools for survival. They are paths to emotion, to memory, to connect. That's why people across time have valued spices so much. A simple seed or dried petal could change the way food tasted, the way a home felt, even the way a person prayed or healed. These tiny, fragrant things had power. And in a world that moves so fast, we forget how powerful the small things still are. Think about how scent works in our daily lives. The smell of rain on dry ground, the first breath of a new season, the way someone you love smells when they hug you. These things are small, but they go deep. They speak to something ancient inside us. That part of us is the same part that walked through those old spice markets long ago, curious, alive, full of wonder. And yet, there's a paradox. These markets, so full of life, now sit in silence, covered by sand, hidden from the world. What was once open and shared is now buried and private. But maybe this isn't just a story of sadness. Maybe it's also a story of hope, because hidden things can be found, forgotten things can be remembered, and quiet things, if we listen closely, can speak again. In mental health, we often talk about the parts of ourselves we've buried, childhood dreams, feelings we didn't understand, times we felt joy but didn't know how to hold on to it. These aren't gone, they're just resting, covered by layers. Like the markets, they need gentle attention, not force, just a slow uncovering, a willingness to return step by step and see what's still there. Even in our modern digital world, where screens light up and information moves faster than thought, we still hunger for something slower, something real. That's why people still search for these old market sites, not just for archaeology, but for peace, for meaning, for a sense that something more ancient, more grounded, still exists beneath all the noise. And maybe that's what we're all looking for in some way. A quiet market filled with color and scent. A place where time slows down, where we can wander, touch, smell, and feel human again. It might not be a physical market for you. It might be a memory, a dream, a way of being that you miss. But like the stalls beneath the desert, it isn't gone. It's just waiting for you to come back. So here's a gentle invitation. What have you lost that you miss? Is there a part of your life, yourself, your story, that feels like a lost market? Once vivid, now quiet. You don't need to dig fast. Just pause. Sit with the thought. Maybe close your eyes. Maybe breathe in deeply. Let the scent of something familiar bring you home. Because even if the desert is wide and the sands are deep, what was once alive still leaves a trace, and sometimes the smallest scent can lead you all the way back to something beautiful, something forgotten, something true. Moonlight, sacrificial altars. Have you ever stood under the night sky and felt like someone or something might be watching too? Not in a scary way, but in a way that feels deep, quiet, mysterious, like the stars remember something we've forgotten. Now imagine an ancient stone table, placed high on a hill, lit only by moonlight. There's no electricity, no crowds, just a smooth, cold surface and the hush of night. Long ago, people gathered here, not for food or sleep, but for something sacred, something they believed connected them to the sky, to the stars, and maybe even to the spirits they couldn't see. Today, those stone altars still remain, weathered by time, silent under the stars. The people are gone. But the silence still speaks. Have you ever visited a place where the air felt heavy but peaceful? Like a quiet mountain temple, or a field at night where everything just pauses. It's hard to describe that feeling. But we've all had it. Maybe it was before a big decision, or during a moment of grief, or even while staring out of a window after a long day. That feeling of being small, but not alone, that's what these ancient altars hold. That feeling, frozen in stone. People often imagine sacrifice as something violent or dramatic, but in many ancient cultures, the word had a softer meaning. It wasn't always about giving something up. It was about offering something, a gift, a gesture of gratitude or hope or sorrow. Imagine someone placing their hands on that altar thousands of years ago, not to harm, but to pray, to whisper the name of someone they missed, to ask for rain, to thank the moon for its quiet light. It's strange to think of how different their world was, yet their hopes may have been exactly like ours. In today's fast world, it's easy to lose touch with ritual. We rush from task to task, barely pausing to breathe. But rituals, small or large, help us make sense of life. Lighting a candle, saying a quiet goodbye, writing down a wish. These moments might not seem important, but they are. They're like soft anchors in a noisy sea. They help us feel grounded, even when everything else is changing. And maybe that's why people built stone altars, to create a space where time could slow down. Have you ever had a place where you go just to think? Maybe it's a park bench, or the corner of your room, or even just your bed after midnight, staring at the ceiling. We all need those spaces, and that's exactly what these moonlit altars were. They were places people went when they needed the sky to listen, and something about doing that at night made it feel more real. There's something about moonlight that makes everything more honest, more still. The strange part is, these altars still exist, buried in forests, hidden in cliffs, forgotten on lonely hills. The ceremony stopped long ago, but the stones are still there. And if you ever visit one, you'll feel it. A quiet pull. Not loud, not scary, just stillness. It's like the place remembers what it was made for. And maybe, in that moment, you remember something too. This kind of quiet mystery touches something deeper. It asks us to think about belief. Not just religious belief, but belief in meaning, in connection, in something bigger than ourselves, even if we don't know exactly what that something is. Have you ever looked at the stars and wondered if someone else was looking back? Maybe someone from another time. Maybe just your past self, remembering a moment that mattered. These thoughts don't always have answers, but they still matter, like silent questions carved in stone. In a way, these old altars are a paradox. They are places of stillness, but they once held so much emotion, joy, grief, love, fear. Now, they're quiet, but they carry echoes of loud, living hearts. It reminds us how places can hold memories, even when people are gone. And maybe we're the same. We carry things too: memories, dreams, regrets, hopes, sometimes buried deep, but always there, waiting for moonlight to bring them out. There's a strange beauty in that idea, that maybe we, too, are like altars, carved by time, weathered by experience, silent on the outside but full of invisible offerings, things we've given to the world without always realizing it. Kindness, patience, courage during hard times. And just like the ancient stones, those offerings leave a mark, even if no one sees them. These ideas stretch into so many parts of life. Language, for example, is full of quiet altars, words we say without always knowing their depth. I'm fine. Take care. Good night. Simple words, but sometimes they carry whole emotions underneath. And in mental health, we often forget to create our own small ceremonies, not big ones, just little acts of care, a walk, a pause, a breath. These are modern altars, too, spaces where we lay down what we're carrying and just rest. Even in the world of AI and fast technology, people still crave moments like this, moments that feel ancient, slower, closer to nature. Maybe that's why stargazing still feels special, or why silence can sometimes say more than speech. In a way, moonlight sacrificial altars remind us that being human isn't just about doing. It's about feeling, wondering, letting go. And even when the world forgets, stone remembers. So tonight, if you can, take a moment. Step outside. Look at the sky. Maybe the moon is out. Maybe it's hiding. Either way, pause. Breathe. Think of those old altars and the people who once stood there with full hearts and quiet hopes. Think of the way they lifted their eyes to the same sky you're seeing now. And know that somewhere, deep in your own life, there are places, silent, sacred places, where your own small ceremonies still matter. And if you feel like sharing, have you ever visited a place that felt quiet but powerful? A place that made you stop and feel something deeper? Maybe it's a forest near your home, a quiet rooftop, or just your favorite place to sit. If you'd like, tell us where that place is. Because even though we live in different places in different times, we all carry the same longing for stillness, for connection, and for meaning under the stars. Hidden water, aqueducts. Have you ever turned on a tap and not thought twice about where the water came from? It's just there, clear, flowing, and ready. But imagine a time when people had to move water across mountains, valleys, and dry plains, without a single machine. They built long, silent tunnels beneath the earth, stone channels that curved gently through the land, carrying the most precious thing, water. Today, many of those aqueducts lie forgotten, buried deep underground, cracked, dry, silent. But if you listen closely, it almost feels like they still carry the sound of flowing water, echoing from a time when they gave life to cities. Somewhere, beneath your feet, there might be one. Maybe it runs below a quiet village, a busy street, or a sun-baked field. The people above might not even know it's there. But once, long ago, it was a lifeline. It carried water to fountains, baths, gardens, and homes. Not with loud pipes or blinking lights, just with gravity, stone, and patience. There's something beautiful about that, something deeply human. The desire to bring life where there was none. Think about your daily life, all the small systems working behind the scenes, the heater that keeps you warm, the wires that bring you light, the signal that connects your phone. You don't see them, you don't hear them, but without them, your day would feel very different. That's what these aqueducts were: hidden systems, quiet efforts, invisible lifelines, and like many invisible things, they're easy to forget until they stop working. Have you ever had a moment when something small broke and suddenly everything felt off? Like when your phone dies right before an important call, or your internet cuts out in the middle of a project. These moments remind us how much we rely on the hidden, silent things. And it makes you wonder, How many invisible systems are holding your life together? Not just machines, but people, feelings, memories, things working quietly, asking for nothing, giving everything. The people who built those aqueducts must have believed deeply in the future. They carved tunnels through stone, stacked bricks, with care, measured the slope of the land just right so the water could move on its own. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't fast, but it worked. For hundreds of years. Imagine doing something today, knowing you might never see the result, but doing it anyway, for the next generation, or even the one after that. That kind of quiet effort is rare now. We live in a world that moves quickly, where results are expected immediately. But the aqueduct builders didn't think like that. They worked with time, not against it, and maybe there's something we can learn from that. Maybe not everything important has to be fast. Maybe the best things, like trust, love, or healing, take time to build and time to flow. There's also something poetic in the way these channels moved, slowly, gently, always downhill, no pressure, no noise, just calm, steady movement. Isn't that the kind of pace we all long for sometimes? When life feels rushed, when pressure builds up, what we really want is a gentle flow, a path that doesn't fight us but carries us forward, like water, like breath, like time itself. Some of these aqueducts fed cities that don't even exist anymore, entire civilizations built on the promise of fresh water. And now the cities are gone, and the water is gone too. All that's left are stone tunnels in the earth, dry and broken, yet still there, still waiting. It's strange to think of water as something that leaves a ghost behind, but that's what these channels feel like the memory of movement. Have you ever walked through an old building and felt like it still remembered the people who once filled it? Their footsteps, their voices, their laughter. It's the same with these aqueducts. The people are gone, but the effort remains. And that's a reminder, too, of how our actions live on even when we don't. Every kindness you give, every problem you help solve, every small effort. It might disappear from view, but it doesn't vanish. It flows into someone else's life, just like water in a hidden channel. In some ways, these aqueducts are a mirror of the mind. Quiet tunnels, carrying thoughts from one place to another. Some ideas flow easily, others get stuck. Some parts collapse and need care to work again. But when the system is healthy, everything moves with ease. No noise. Just flow. Maybe mental health is like that too. Less about fixing everything all at once, and more about making small, steady pathways for thoughts to move through. And in the world of communication, especially online, we often miss these slower flows. The gentle conversations, the quiet support, we chase the loud messages, the fast likes. But sometimes the most meaningful words are the ones shared quietly, with no spotlight, a kind message, a slow check-in, a moment of listening. These are the modern aqueducts, carrying care from one heart to another. Even artificial intelligence in some way is built like an aqueduct. Hidden layers, quiet calculations, passing information from one step to the next. And while the surface seems smooth and easy, the system behind it is complex, careful, designed to flow. It's interesting to think how old ideas, like channeling water, can echo into the newest technologies. How ancient wisdom still whispers in modern design. So if you ever find yourself near a ruined city, or walking over an open field, or even just standing at your sink, think about this. Beneath your feet, there might be something built long ago, something made to bring life, quietly and steadily, to someone in need. You may not see it, but its purpose was simple: to help, to nourish, to connect. And maybe that's our purpose too. If you've ever seen something like this, or even just felt that sense of quiet structure in your own life, feel free to share. Maybe there's a place in your town with forgotten roots, a fountain with no water, a dry riverbed, or just a story from your family about how water once reached them before pipes and wires. These stories remind us of how strong we are, how creative, and how deeply we care for those who come after us. because no matter how far we move forward or how fast the world becomes, there will always be something beautiful about slow, silent care, the kind that moves underground, unseen, steady, like water, like love, like the effort someone once made just so a stranger could take a drink on a hot day. Vanished trade routes. Have you ever walked through a quiet place and felt like something important once happened there, though now there's no trace of it left? No sign, no sound, just silence. That's how it feels standing where great trade routes once ran. Paths that were once filled with voices, footsteps, and the sound of animals carrying goods across continents. Now they're covered by sand or time, forgotten by maps, vanished from memory. But if you close your eyes and listen to the wind, it's almost like you can hear the echo of camels walking through the dunes, carrying silk, salt, spices, or stories. Imagine a narrow path stretching for hundreds of miles, crossing deserts, mountains, and forests. On that path, traders traveled not only with goods, but with ideas, music, beliefs, languages, and dreams. These weren't just roads, they were lifelines. They connected people who might never have met otherwise. Someone in one land could wear fabric from a place thousands of miles away or taste a fruit grown under a distant sun. And yet today, those roads are gone. Swallowed by dust, erased by weather, forgotten by many. Have you ever thought about how connected the world is now? A package from the other side of the planet can reach your door in just a few days. You can message someone far away and get a reply in seconds. But in the past, that connection looked different. It took time. It took effort. It moved slowly. People walked beside animals, slept under open skies, waiting out sandstorms. And through it all, they carried the most human thing of all: trust. They trusted that someone on the other end of the road would welcome them, would trade fairly, would share in peace. It's strange, isn't it? That so many of the things that shaped human history happened in places where there's now nothing but sand. A desert, flat and silent, can once have been a highway for ideas, and it makes you wonder, how many important things in your own life have vanished without a trace? A friendship that faded, a conversation that mattered deeply at the time, but now feels like a distant memory. A dream you once chased, now buried under the passing of years. These things leave no marks, but they helped build who you are. Sometimes we only notice something's value once it's gone, like an old routine, a walk you used to take, a habit that gives you peace. When it disappears, it feels like the road under your feet has vanished. That's how these trade routes must feel to the earth itself, worn deep into the land for centuries, then slowly covered up, as if they never existed. But they did, and even if the roads are gone, the effects of what passed along them remain. Trade routes weren't only about exchanging goods, they were about learning, about curiosity, about reaching beyond your own world. Think of all the times you've asked a question just because you were curious, or shared something small, like a snack, or a song, or a story. That's the spirit of a trade route. It's the idea that what you have might be useful to someone else, and what they have might open your mind. And in that quiet exchange, you both grow. These paths taught people how to adapt. One day, you might be crossing a cold mountain pass, the next a dry, endless desert. It reminds us that change is part of every journey. No road stays the same forever, and in life that's true too. You might start something with one goal in mind, only to end up somewhere you never expected. Maybe a career you thought would last, or a relationship you built everything around slowly shifts. Like sand covering a path, change can come slowly or all at once. And yet, even when the road disappears, the journey still matters. The people you met, the lessons you learned, the strength you found along the way. These are things that can't be erased, even if the path itself is gone. Think of times in your life when you worked hard toward something. Maybe a school exam, a difficult conversation, a new habit. Even if the final result wasn't what you hoped for, the effort wasn't wasted. You're stronger for having walked that path. In a way, our minds also have trade routes, paths that connect thoughts, feelings, and memories. Sometimes those routes are clear. We know where an idea came from and where it's going. But other times, a thought appears out of nowhere, like something carried to us by wind. Maybe it came from a story we heard years ago, or a lesson from a parent, or even a line in a book we forgot we read. And now it's helping us make a decision, or feel comfort, or imagine something new. Sometimes those mental paths get blocked, like a sandstorm in the brain. You try to think clearly, but you can't. Everything feels stuck. That's when it helps to rest, to step back, to breathe. Over time, just like the earth reshapes itself, our thoughts find new paths, new connections, and slowly, the storm clears. In this way, the vanished trade routes remind us that even when something is no longer visible, its impact can still be felt. It's like kindness, a small word spoken in a moment of stress, a quiet hug, a message sent just to check in. These gestures may not be remembered forever, but they change something. They move something inside us. Like goods traveling across a continent, they carry comfort and connection across great distances, sometimes across years. Technology today moves fast, but that speed can make things feel shallow. There's something deeply calming about the idea of slowness, of walking through the world with care, of taking time to meet someone, to understand them, to share a story. That's what these trade routes were. Long, patient conversations between people who might otherwise never have met. Even artificial intelligence, for all its speed, still works through pathways. Networks, routes, information must travel. It must connect ideas, solve problems, and bring something from one place to another. And that's not so different from a trader carrying a message across the desert, hoping that on the other side, someone will understand. So when you think about the future, think also of the past, of those quiet paths carved into the land, of people who walked them under stars, who faced storms and hunger, but kept moving because something waited on the other side. They may be gone now. Their names are forgotten, but their spirit lives on. In every moment we choose to connect, to share, to trust. And if you know a place like this, a trail, a ridge, a valley, where people once passed through but now only silence remains, feel free to share it. Maybe it's a quiet path near your home, or a road that no one drives anymore. These places still hold meaning. They remind us that connection doesn't always leave marks, but it always leaves something behind. Because even when the road vanishes, the journey is never truly lost. Each of these vanished places reminds us how fragile our own world can be. We build, we thrive, and time reshapes all things. Yet in memory, stories, maps, even dreams, we keep them alive. These mysteries touch our beliefs about impermanence, the languages we lose, and the hidden patterns our minds, and even AI, still strive to decode. If you feel the pull of these lost worlds, tap like and subscribe for more peaceful journeys through history's hidden corners. Share your favorite mystery below and where you'd travel first in your dreams. Now, let your mind drift as we explore each secret, one by one.